Oh, boy, man. Super Bowl 60's in the books. Seattle Seahawks are your winners. How did they win? We're going to talk about it today. Do you still believe that you need another edge? Because if you do, you might want to exit this chat right now. Brad Holmes missed on a big one. One of my best picks that did not happen for Detroit. Nick Emanawari. What a stud. Sam Darnold, the quarterback that I said was going to have a resurgence in Minnesota and Seattle, he gets it done. This should prove to you, if you can win with Darnold, you can win with a Goff.
Igniting the light through highs and lows, we'll stand as one. A legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar, together we cry. Detroit Lions will rise, with a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices, let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions, we'll always be proud.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Super Bowl 60 is in the books. What did Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and Kelvin Shepard and, Drew Petzing and Mike Kafka, what did they learn? What did they learn from this Super Bowl? I got the pick right. Sam Darnold was going to lead his team to a Super Bowl. Seahawks were going to win. They were going to be dominant. Will Campbell was going to get thrashed, my biggest call on Friday afternoon, and it happened. Will Campbell got absolutely thrashed. But we're going to talk about everything that I feel that the Lions can learn from this today. We'll roll through the stats. We're going to roll through some storylines. And I think that we'll feel a little bit better about where the Lions are at the end of the day. All right. Good morning, Eric. What's happening, man?
Hey, good morning. Happy Super Bowl hangover Monday to everyone that partook last night. I did not, but man, it sure feels like I did. I ate so much damn food.
You know, I'm just glad that the season's over so that we can finally move forward to free agency and in the draft.
Yeah.
I can start pumping out some content. Been working hard on the backside trying to get everything ready to roll so I can just start dropping stuff. And give me another 24 hours and I think we'll be pretty good. And then the rest of the week, well, I guess throughout the next several weeks, our plan is to come to the table with a few free agents to talk about, a few draft prospects to talk about each and every day. That is where the content's going to go in the morning so that we can get everybody kind of up to speed as far as what I'm seeing and what you're seeing or hearing or reading, bringing you content from other people, the storylines from other NFL analysts. But I've got a surprise. I don't like to normally put this stuff out there before I know it's locked in, but I reached out to Coach Koo, and he has a long-time history with Drew Petzing. He should be joining us this week and give us a breakdown on Drew Petzing and the entire offense that he likes to run. And why not that this will fit, inside Detroit. So we're going to hear from a coach that has, I believe, 30-plus years of coaching experience, NFL, collegiate, high school, all of it. And give us the goodies, man. Give us the inside details on Drew Petzing. Let's see, I thought I had another one lined up for the week. I think I do. Probably get Dan Viens on. Big-time Seattle Seahawks fan. I think we have Paul Farrington coming in this week.
Hey, speaking of Paul, if you were subscribed to Paul's channel, he did a show last night, and the name of his show was Absolute Nightmare. Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Hey, I told them all. Number one, Sam Darnold in 2024 was going to be special. And then I said, do not let that man walk out that door. And you let that man walk out that door, and you put a bust in his place at quarterback. You deserve everything you got in Minnesota. It sucks for the fans. It sucks for guys like Paul. But that is why Kwesi is no longer the GM. You can't fumble something like that, man. You got to pay the man the money. What was it?
Will,
$100 million for that contract?
Can you check your volume?
I can. Is it dipping?
Yep.
Oh, man. That's not good. Hold on.
All of a sudden, it sounded a lot quieter.
It's probably because I got amplified. It does that to me. Auto gain should be off. Double check here. Yeah, I'm a little down. There we go.
There he is. Now I can hear you again.
So anyway, I should have a few different people popping in this week to kind of give us some perspective. Here's where I want to start. Good morning to everybody. Obviously, Lions fans up in the chat. A couple of things that I'll throw out there right away. I've seen things in the chat like we've got too many projects. Look, the Lions literally have no projects on this roster. If you think that a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th round or 7th round pick is a project, well, guess what? They're all projects. Every single player you bring in is a project. I don't care if it's the 1st round. They're all projects. They're not 100% polished, beautiful agate like Eric produces on YOOPERLITES.com. It takes time. It takes a long time to spin those things through 10 different levels of grit before you can get nice and shiny on the other side.
Yep.
So to think that Brad is bringing in too many projects, that whole narrative that we know where it comes from is just BS. It is foolish. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I'm not saying you're this, but it's unintelligent. Because every team in the NFL has projects.
Yeah.
You cannot blame one guy or two guys or even four guys that don't suit up, that don't give you meaningful snaps on your losses. Because there's something called a starting 25. And it's those starting 25 that should play about 90% of the snaps, 85% of the snaps. That is where your season lies. Now, the other guys, well, let me back up. The starting 25 is probably about 65% of your snaps. The backup guys, round two, when they come in, your depth chart number 2 guys that are putting in 30, 40, 50% of the snaps, 60% of the snaps throughout the season, that's where you need to be really good, is in your depth. If you are not great in your depth, you are not going to be as good as you think you are late into the season. And we witnessed that, did we not? In 2024, when the Lions went down with 21 players on IR, what happened? We went 15-2 on the backs of our backups. Had Brad not brought in those projects, right? Had he not invested in those lesser known guys, that wouldn't have happened, because it was because of those guys that the Lions were able to stay consistent and able to win football games. Miss me with the whole project thing. Now, what I don't want is I don't want to see where Brad Holmes is taking a clear 5th round player, right, and drafting that player in the 2nd round. Now, that would be crazy and stupid and foolish, right? He doesn't do that. But grabbing a guy in 2023, let's just talk about it for 2 seconds. Broderick Martin, at pick number 96, the only player in that draft of his size, of his caliber, of his maybe ability, was Kobe Turner, the guy that I wanted Brad to draft. And he was drafted 3 or 4 spots ahead of Broderick Martin. We don't know if Brad tried to get up another 3, 4, or 5 spots. But the point is he moved up to get the last guy in the draft that had the size to at least play nose tackle to fill in for DJ Reader if need be, because we had no idea if DJ Reader was really going to be able to go full go. The good news is DJ Reader was able to play, but there was nobody else in the draft that was that size. Free agency is already done. The next opportunity is at 90-man cuts. And I've done this multiple times on this channel. I have gone through every single defensive tackle and defensive end after pick 96, and they all sucked. Some of them aren't even on teams. And there might be 1 or 2 that actually have decent stats, like 3 or 4 sacks in a season, and that's it. So again, players in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round are not surefire starters. The majority of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round guys are projects.
So that's where you would consider it a project, 4th round and later, right?
4th round and later is where I would consider it to be a project. And Broderick Martin picked at pick number 96 is not just a project, but Brad gave up a few picks, right, to go get him. But when you look at the value of those 5th round picks, they're not really worth anything. And so what happens with fans, Eric, is this. They see that a guy was a 4th or 5th or 6th round pick that becomes a stud. And you're like, see, Brad missed on this guy, but that's like 1 out of 1,000.
Well, listen,
1 out of 1,000.
If you go back to Brad's very first draft, the 4th round wide receiver that he took as a project,
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown has turned out to be one of the best wide receivers we've ever had. All pro, multiple time Pro Bowler. The guy is putting up 1,000-yard season every season except for his first season. So he started out as a project. He was not touted to be some super awesome. He doesn't have the body. He's not DK Metcalf size. He's not Calvin Johnson size. So nobody saw it coming. So he got that project right. So if he can get that one right, he knocked it out of the park. I don't care if he gets a couple projects wrong. I don't care.
And see, I think we use the word project a little bit loosely because, I mean, one, I truly do mean 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks are truly projects because less than 15% of those 3rd round picks are ever going to start a game. And it gets even less and less and less as you get through the 4th through the 7th rounds. Now, can you get lucky here or there? Yes. Here's what fans also don't understand. And I use the word fans loosely. I'm just saying the general public, I should say, not fans. The general public doesn't understand this either. That not every draft is deep. Whoa. That's a thought. You mean to tell me that this year's draft may not be deep in a certain area that we need players? Come on. That's foolish talk, Will. Like, everyone should be available in the 7th round. We should find starters in the 7th round. I mean, is that right, Eric?
Well, sure. Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, let's play ball here. If Brad can find Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round, he should be able to do that every year.
Well, yeah. And since the San Francisco 49ers took Brock Purdy with the very last pick in the draft, and they nailed their starting quarterback and franchise quarterback with the last pick in the draft, well, then Brad Holmes should be able to do it too. And everyone else should be able to hit on every single pick. Well, what is it? 70, 80% of draft picks wash out. So
here's the thing. Let me just throw it because this is foolish to me. So the comment is, so St. Brown wasn't drafted to start, but started. Got it. No, St. Brown was not drafted to start. Do you know what happened in 2021? Do you have any clue what happened in 2021? Any clue? Because we woke up to week 1 and we didn't have any receivers.
None.
All of the free agents that we brought in, all the guys that were on this team from the year before, gone. They were either gone or injured. Yeah. So by week 6, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a starter. And he was not great. And he finally started to get better the second half of the season. But in 2021, Amon-Ra St. Brown was 4th or 5th on the depth chart. He was not a starter. Yeah. He happened to become one because of injuries. So again, I'll go back to what I started with. Depth, very important. Nobody drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown for a reason. They didn't see the value in the kid. And let's just be real here. What happened to Amon-Ra St. Brown in his last year at USC is quite honestly the fault of USC. So when they started having him run more outside routes, sticking him out as an X, that is why his value dropped immensely. Because he wasn't running the routes as a slot receiver where he does his damage, and he was not doing as good as an X receiver, so that devalued him. That is the biggest reason why he dropped in the draft. It wasn't because he didn't have the skills. It wasn't because he didn't have the grit. Didn't have the work ethic. All of that was always there. It was because of how USC used him, right? And he wanted to play more on the outside, the way I understand it. So there's the biggest reason why. But anyway, let's get things right. Let's make sure we get the facts straight, and those are facts. All right, let's move forward to this. I'm not going to spend all day on projects. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world that people will ever blame Brad Holmes for 2 or 3 players. Let me remind you, because we spoke about it last week. He has a 78% hit rate. 78. That means he's operating at a level that is 23% higher than your average GM in the NFL. And that's 40% higher, 45% higher than how the Patriots drafted the last 4 seasons. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think another good comment in here was, fans are are spoiled because of 2023. Absolutely. But going back to 2023, he already drafted 4 starters, 4 Pro Bowl, All-Pro type players, and at least 2 of them are already. And then what you're looking for the rest of that draft, maybe he didn't switch to BPA. Maybe he started filling needs because he already got his 4 starters. He already got his 4 guys. Look, if you get 2 impact players out of a draft, you are winning. 2. If you get 2 impact players out of any draft, that is a win. And if you get 2 quality backups, you are operating at a higher level than the average NFL GM. So for the people, for the general public that don't know these things, that is why I do these things on this channel. That is why I try to spin the narrative the other way, because the narrative is Brad Holmes sucks, Brad Holmes missed, Brad Holmes and Broderick Martin, Brad Holmes and Hendon Hooker, Brad Holmes and this, right? But the truth is that person that keeps spewing that information doesn't know squat about how the NFL actually works. Doesn't know these answers. Doesn't have the ability to apparently do research. Because research will tell you everything that I'm telling you every day. And I'm not trying to throw anybody underneath the bus, but there's a big difference between what the people do at ESPN and Fox Sports or MSNBC Sports or whatever it is, Yahoo Sports, on the NFL Network desk. There's a reason why those people are there. There's a reason why you don't hear them saying Brad Holmes needs to take a hike. There's a reason why you don't hear them talking about projects. Because it's mythical. Doesn't exist. That's why. All right, let's get into the Seahawks and the Patriots, man. We'll take a quick refresh here. We'll be right back. I moved everything once again. I gotta love it. There we go.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right. Super Bowl, man. Pretty good game. No, it wasn't.
The first half was so boring.
So a game won by field goals and special teams. Like what I took away from yesterday is a couple of things that I thank Brad Holmes for being so, I guess, stuck in his ways with is special teams. You have to have all 3 phases working for you. And yesterday, without special teams, the Seahawks don't win this game. Those punts by that punter,
fantastic.
Some of the best punts I've ever seen in my life. Matter of fact, I think it was one of the last punts where they were coming, man. They went 0, and they didn't have anybody back to receive, and they were going after the block. And he had to get that thing off in like a second, and he narrowly did it. But not only did he pooch that thing low, he could have been blocked at the line had someone put their damn hands up, but he buried it on the 4-yard line. Like, that's incredible. And then the multiple punts before that, he's dropping that thing right inside the 5 every time. I mean, down to the 2, down to the 1, at least 2 times in this game. Just incredible work by that punter. And then the kicker, man, I don't even know his name. I forget his name. What did he nail? 6 field goals yesterday?
All right.
Broke the record?
Jason Myers. He now holds 2 Super Bowl records, most field goals in a game with 5 and most points by a kicker with 17. And then he did not get the MVP, which I was kind of surprised by. And Kenneth Walker got it with 130 something yards. And he is the first running back in 28 years to get MVP in a Super Bowl. The last running back to do it, Terrell Davis for the Denver Broncos back in the 90s.
It was
yeah,
six punts, right?
What's that?
6 punts, right?
Yeah. Let me get back to it. Punts. 7 punts for the Seahawks and 8 punts for the Patriots.
Field goals.
Oh,
That's
field
what
goals?
I was talking
Oh,
about, man. The field
you said
goals.
You said punts.
Punts
so-
and field goals. I'm sorry. But no, he broke a record with the field goals.
Yeah, 5 field goals and no field goals for no field goals for the Patriots. Their kicker did not do too much yesterday.
Okay. I kind of walk through some of my notes here. Aggressive free agency is what we hear. Brad Holmes needs to do, right, Eric? I mean, that's the talk of the town. Every single year, it's Max Crosby. By the way, since I just mentioned his name, I will find the clip. But I'm sorry, I just got to call BS once again on everything that was thrown out by somebody in an article and then pumped by everybody else. Max Crosby stated specifically this weekend that he's staying where he is, that he just built his forever home in Vegas, and he's going to be there for at least the next 15 years, is what he just said on his appearance on NFL Network. So you can research that yourself. Loves Vegas, doesn't want to be anywhere else, has his family, closest friends, and everybody out there living with him in his mega mansion, and specifically stated he ain't going nowhere. So who started the rumor? Glazier. What do we know Glazier to be? Not very accurate. Not very accurate at all. Matter of fact, when I watched Glazier doing that interview, go watch it again.
I never heard him say Detroit.
Oh, no, he never did. He never did.
So where all these people are getting Detroit was his number one choice.
That came from that article.
But if you go look, like, there are so many stories for every single NFL team, not named the Raiders, that they should go after Crosby in the offseason.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Every single team in the NFL, there is something on social media somewhere saying that Max Crosby is going to their team in the offseason.
Yeah. No, it happens. It happens every year with every edge rusher. The thing that is crazy to me is that there's a free agent in Trey Hendrickson. Why wouldn't you want to go that direction versus some guy that's making $100 million? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's making $33 million a year, AAV or whatever the number is. Trey Hendrickson would be the more likely choice that you could potentially get on a cheap 1-year deal because he's a free agent coming off of an injury. But Max Crosby just definitively stated this weekend on live TV that he's staying in Vegas. But if you watch the Glazier interview that I shared, you were here, that I shared, just watch it again and pay attention. Now, remember I always say that facial, the way that people's body language looks to me, and I've seen a few things in my day. His jaw looked a little wiry. He didn't look like he was, on planet Earth. We'll just say that. I don't know if there's snow-capped mountains out there, some good powder or whatever. I don't know what it is, but there must have been some fresh snow, maybe he was doing some downhill skiing or something that week. But just go watch it again. Pay attention.
Yeah, maybe he needs to come up here. We got nothing but snow.
Yeah, exactly.
They were removing the banks across the street at the church at like 4:00 this morning and woke me up. Oh, snow everywhere.
So I'll go back to what I started with. Aggressive free agency spending. That is what Lions fans talk about the most. We need this player, we need that player, and even some of the most level-headed individuals that do content, for some reason, still believe that Max Crosby would be this game changer. Now what you will find out, and what you should have noticed from yesterday's Super Bowl, it was not the defensive ends that won this game. It was not. Now, Seattle runs more of a 3-4 defense. They also run the defense that I've been begging the Lions to run, at least as a sub package, which is having 3 safeties and 3 corners on the field. That is why they're able to do what they're able to do. When you have small linebackers on the field, safeties, that are fast, you can do things like rush the passer. from the safety, from the nickel slot, right? And it worked great yesterday, multiple times. They got home once, but it worked multiple times. And TFLs. So before I get into the free agency spending here, TFLs. There's another guy that was on NFL Network yesterday. His name is Michael Bennett, former Seahawk defensive end. And he said something yesterday. He said very definitively, I don't care, paraphrasing, I don't care how many pressures you get. If you are not getting TFLs, it doesn't matter. What do I always say? What are the few things that matter the most? One, you have to have under 20 points per game allowed by your defense. Seahawks allowed 72 points per game, best in the league.
13 in the Super Bowl.
There you go. If you can get a defense to do that, you're going to win. Right? Number 2 is TFLs. TFLs matter way more to me than any sack ever will matter. Why? There's more opportunity to get TFLs than there are to get sacks. You've got one guy versus 5. Right? So you've got one guy on the field, the quarterback, versus 5 weapons on the field, offensive weapons that can either carry the ball, get the ball passed to them, whatever. And if the pass is behind the line, you tackle them, it's TFL. Running back takes the football, they don't get above the line, it's a TFL. When you sack a quarterback, it's a TFL that they label a sack. TFLs are way more important than any other stat for the defense. And Michael Bennett confirmed that yesterday. And he's not the only one that's confirmed that. What's his name? Jared. What's the defensive end's name? Jared
Grady?
No. He played like 15 years ago.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh my God. Anyway, he was on NFL Network or one of these channels in the last few months. I did a video on it, I think, or we talked about it in the morning show, but he mentioned the same thing. Jared Allen, that it's as many TFLs as you get is what's going to help your team win. We noticed sacks yesterday, right? There was 6 of them by the Seattle Seahawks. If you were to take a guess, Eric, how long do you think it took for some of those sacks to happen, the majority of them? Was it before or under 2.5 seconds or greater than 2.5 seconds?
I think all of them were over.
Over 2.5?
I would say, yeah.
And how many of them do you think were under 3 seconds?
Probably none of them.
There was one. There was one that came, I think, right up the gut, and I think it was Milton Williams that not Milton Williams. It was oh my goodness, who was it? What was your guy?
Murphy.
Yeah, I think it was Murphy. That he ran right through the center, right, and then reached and grabbed May and like kind of pulled him into the center, and then they all kind of went down. That one I think was probably under 3 seconds, but it was close.
Byron Murphy's bull rush last night. My God.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few things that I talk about that are very important. One, quick pressures. Quick pressures are extremely important. Forget everything else. I don't care if you're getting pressure at 4.5 seconds because that's done nothing. If you're getting pressure at 4.5 seconds, or if you're getting a sack at 4.5 seconds, that means that your DBs and your secondary are doing their job.
Yeah.
The most important thing that I noticed yesterday, above all else, was secondary play. I don't care what anyone else says about this Super Bowl. If anyone is saying anything other than elite secondary won this game, then they didn't watch the same game. And quite honestly, both sides of the ball, Eric, Christian Gonzalez is a freak.
Yeah.
Devin Witherspoon is a freak. And that he was exactly why, or he's exactly why he was my number 1 corner pick in that draft in 23? Yes, 23. The year that Gibbs came out. So did Brad totally screw it up and in 2023 not take Christian Gonzalez when he had an opportunity to? I don't know. Yeah. You wouldn't have had either Gibbs or Jack Campbell. So I guess I'd rather have both those players. But there's a reason why elite secondary play is needed, and the Lions need to figure that out quickly, like extremely quickly. They need to figure out how to get elite secondary play back on this team.
Yeah, it just freed everybody up to do their job. I have to tell you right now, You put that defense on the Detroit Lions with or without a new offensive line, and that team is winning the Super Bowl. Oh God.
One sec.
I can only dream of having a defense like that for the Detroit Lions, but maybe we don't have to dream for too much longer. Depending on what Brad can do this year in the offseason with free agency, is this the year that Brad does something a little bit different in free agency? Because if you've looked at the last 5 years, what Brad's done in free agency, he just brings in 2 or 3 players, maybe 1 or 2 starters. Does this year he go a little more? Does he do a little bit more in free agency this year than he has in years past?
Yeah, I like what Rob E just stated, talking about like a bait concept. And I call that man match with late rotation. So they line up in a man and then they rotate late, drop back. It's super smart. But when you're playing with guys in front of you and you're not turning and chasing and running in man, you can do exactly what they did yesterday. I like playing a little bit more zone, at least a little bit of zone inside man. We can't be 100% man all the time. And yesterday, again, should have showed you that. But having 6 DBs on the field, critical at times. Calvin Shepard better have taken a lot of notes in that Super Bowl yesterday. I don't care if you're a 4-3 base defense. There is no reason in the world that you can't run a 6 DB look and big dime packages. There's no reason why you can't. And had the picks that I wanted. Now I know a lot of you want all these defensive ends, or some of you want the picks that I wanted out of the last several drafts was Nick Emenawari, Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon, Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, I called Jack Campbell. I called Brian Branch. I called who else? Sione Vaki. I called and a handful of others. But the point is, when I mock these guys up, and I mocked them in the order of what player would I take first, Nick Emenawari was at the very tippy top of my list as the second player I would have taken in that draft. For me, as from where the Lions were picking. I would have moved heaven and earth to try to make that happen. Why? He's a small linebacker. He's a big safety. Played like lights out yesterday. Yeah. What an amazing game for him.
For having a bum ankle, he sure did play pretty well.
Yeah, I think that was a good story going into the Super Bowl, wasn't it?
He was limping around before the game in pregame warmups.
He was selling it hard. That's what he was doing. But anyway, I know I've kind of run all over the place this morning. It's just one of those days. I'm sprinting a mile here back and forth. I'm doing the Barry Sanders, man. I'm going sideways to sideways. We're not moving forward. Let's talk about free agency spending, where I tried to get to. The 2 most aggressive teams in free agency this year were none other than the Seahawks and the Patriots. There's a big difference, right? There's a very big difference to being big spenders and spending a lot of money wisely. Okay, when we look at the Patriots or the Seahawks and what they did, yeah, they spent $5 million or $9 million? I had the number somewhere. The Patriots, look at this. The Patriots handed out the most money in unrestricted free agent market. They handed out more than $364 million in contracts, with $209 million guaranteed. Now, they didn't have a choice because they're drafting over the last 4 seasons. They've only retained less than 34% of those players. All of their 4th round picks, gone. Completely gone. None of them on the roster. There might be one, but you get the point. So they handed out 19 contracts to free agents, according to SpotTrack. New England also led in guaranteed money spent. It was speculated to be anywhere between 175 and 209. They won the bidding war on Milton Williams. How did he play yesterday? Decent game for Milton Williams.
Yep.
I think he had a sack, but
yep.
They also brought in players like Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, Clavon Chason, Robert Spillane, all decent games. But they couldn't control Kenneth Walker. They couldn't control the run game. That dude was able to do just about anything he wanted to. They couldn't control Sam Darnold. I mean, they could barely get to the guy, and he just evaded it. Another giraffe on skates yesterday was evading pressure, like Patrick Mahomes. So New England, they got their number one receiver, too. They spent an assload of money on Stephon Diggs. Didn't work out yesterday. Mac Hollins, guy they drafted, made the best catch of the game in the end zone for the Patriots. So I think that when you just have to be very intentional in the free agency period with people that, you know, you're bringing in, I think that sometimes in free agency you have to be able to use it for what it is. And in this case, I think that free agency for the Patriots was just building their team immediately to get some good players on the field. They didn't know that they were going to go to a Super Bowl. They didn't know that these players that were coming in were going to do what they did all season long. They had no idea. But it clicked, and they stayed healthy. And that was another big reason as to why the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. They stayed healthy. But free agency spending is something that every Lions fan, it seems like, at some point is saying, Brad is not doing enough. He needs to go out and spend all this money. And he just doesn't. And to your point, you said, yeah, he brings in a couple of players. The most money he spent in free agency was on DJ Reed, and Carlton Davis. That's the most money he has spent. So I don't think any more than $15 or $16 million per year is tippy tops, I think, for Brad. And it might even be way underneath that. But instead of just going to free agency, the Seahawks have been drafting extremely well. When you look at the Seahawks roster, they've added players like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Devin Witherspoon, Kenneth Walker, Charles Cross, Byron Murphy, Reek Woolen, AJ Barner. As some of their top two picks in April were like Gray Zabel, Nick Amanawari. Those are the players that were on the field. The Seattle Seahawks were starting more rookies than any other team in history in a Super Bowl. That means something. You have to be able to draft well. And that is what Brad Holmes does. Now, I don't understand the picture either, why fans, general public, keep saying Brad missed the last two drafts. We don't even know what the last two drafts are going to be yet. And Tate Ratledge and Tyleik Williams were no scrubs. They were top 32 in the league at their position. And Tyleik Williams, I think, was top 22 in the league at his position. That's not a scrub. You're going up against 64 players at a minimum as a DT, and you're going up against at least 32 players as a right guard. And to finish in the top 32, that's not easy. But it's just been an absolute masterclass by John and Mike McDonald in the draft. But they did spend $209 million, I think, in free agency. But where did the majority of that money go? One contract. And that was Sam Darnold. So don't let the numbers fool you, because most of the money went to Sam Darnold. It makes everyone look at it and say, see, the Seahawks just won because they spent all that money in free agency. No, they spent $100 million on some free agents. That's it. That's not a lot of money when you look at how that money, those dollars, are spread out over the next several seasons. Let me just get you the number here. The Seahawks came in fourth in free agency spending, $205 million. They led by the 3-year, $100.5 million deal for Sam Darnold, and then some smaller contracts for DeMarcus Lawrence and Cooper Kupp. John Schneider hit on several budget deals on players. Budget deals. Sounds like Brad Holmes and his project deals, right? Budget deals. Tight end Eric Saubert, tackle Josh Jones, both helped that team to a Super Bowl. So, Eric, is free agency the only way? And to follow that up, does Brad Holmes need to change something this year?
No, it's not the only way. Everybody thinks that free agency is the quick fix. It's not. You have to get what you can there and fill everything else with the draft. And your second question was, what about Brad this year?
Does he need to make a change this year?
I think he may do a little bit more in free agency than he has before. A different approach. he may surprise you a little bit. Now, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, and they spent a bunch of money in free agency last year, but this next year they might be in a little bit of trouble. They only have 4 draft picks: a first, a second, a third, and a sixth. Okay, so they only have 4 draft picks to work with, and their unrestricted free agents are safety Kobe Bryant, cornerback Josh Joby, right tackle Josh Jones, edge Boye Mafe, wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, linebacker Chaz Surratt, running back Kenneth Walker, who was the MVP, cornerback Tariq Woolen, and wide receiver Derek Young. So there's a bunch of starters in that list I just listed off.
Those are the free agents, right, for the Seahawks?
Yep.
Yeah, so how many of them you think are going to be able to come back?
Yeah, there's 9 of them. And if they can leave them back,
the biggest question is how many are going to come back, though? You just won a Super Bowl, right? You brought in those free agents, or you have some free agents. Some you brought in, some you drafted. How many of those were drafted? Well, Shaheed wasn't drafted, right?
No, he was traded for.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season or something.
Yeah, at the deadline, he was their deadline pick from the Saints.
I can't remember if Boye Mafe was drafted there. I think he was.
No, that's the one that came from the Ravens, correct?
Maybe. I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure he came from the trade from the Ravens.
And then Tariq Woolen?
He was drafted there. But Kenneth Walker, he just won MVP.
Yeah.
And he wants a payday.
Oh, for sure. He'll get it.
And he may be over the shared backfield with Zach Charbonnet.
I don't think so.
Be the man.
No, I mean he'll still be the lead man, but Charbonnet is extremely important and vital to that squad.
But can the Seahawks afford him?
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the biggest question, right? I mean when you're going into this season, here I'll just look at team salary cap,
because Kenneth Walker is going to be
pretty sure they got money.
I think he's going to be the what do you call it? Like Saquon Barkley was a few years ago in free agency. That's going to be the Kenneth Walker role. There's going to be multiple teams that want him.
There will. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get a record-setting deal, primarily because he is in a shared backfield, but it's going to be a big deal. And in signing Jahmyr Gibbs, I think you need to wait and see what happens with Kenneth Walker before you do that. The Seattle Seahawks in 2026 are starting with $73.3 million in cap space. So spending a boatload of money in free agency is not the answer. Why? Because they've got a ton of money in cap space already. But the point that I've been trying to drive home with all of this is we are negative $16 million this year to start, somewhere between 7 and 16. There's conflicting numbers between a couple of different sites. Call it 12 million. The Lions are upside down and they haven't spent hardly any money in free agency. There's a reason for that. And that reason is they've re-signed their own players. And I don't care which Lions fan you ask. I don't think that there's one player that they didn't feel happy got a new deal. Hindsight, everyone's pissed about Kirby. I never wanted Aiden re-signed to a mega deal. I didn't see the value in it. The production, okay, great. But I'm going to listen to former defensive ends that tell me those pressures are meaningless when you're not getting TFLs. That's what I'm listening to. I'm going to listen to former defensive ends that are Hall of Famers that say, if you are not affecting the quarterback, going up against number one competition, you can't take on one-on-ones and win, then all those other numbers don't mean squat. And I think that that's where people kind of get me wrong about Aiden. It's not that I don't like Aiden. It's not that I don't think he's a great player. I just look deeper into the stats and the efficiency numbers and the rankings, and I look at it differently. I look at it from what if I were to operate as a GM, that's how I look at it. I look at it from an efficiency standpoint. Can I put 3 players on my team for the cost of you, which gives me backup times 2, right? So I got a left and a right and a backup. And can I get the same production? If I split up all of your stats between 3 guys, and they'll probably add a little more to it than that, right? If you were to take those 100 pressures and split it up between the 3 guys and add it to their amount of pressures that they already have, if you were to take those 14 and a half sacks, split it up between 3 guys and add it to the numbers that they already had, I would much rather have 3 guys getting me that production than 1. And I think that is the biggest thing that I take away from this game, Eric. And this is where Brad and Dan and Calvin Shepard and everybody else on this Lions front office needs to take a bite out of the Seahawks, which I think that Brad has been doing this, by the way. You're not just putting one elite guy over here, one elite guy over there, and saying, hey, we don't need elite guys anywhere else. We don't need sub-elite guys anywhere else. We just need some good guys. Just some good guys around you. We just need these 2 elite guys. That's it. And the reason why the Seahawks didn't do that, and the reason why teams that are winning Super Bowls aren't doing that, is because it doesn't make sense. And the reason why it doesn't make sense is because you need sub-elite or almost tier 1 guys, but tier 2 is what I call them. You need tier 2 guys that can give you volume and give you opportunity. If you have a bunch of tier 1 guys, well, 1, you can't afford that many. And so you're going to have less on the field. If you look at how Brad has put this roster together, how he's drafted, and how he's done free agency, he's putting a young, rookie over here that should be elite at some point. That's the goal. Or even if they turn out to be a tier 2 guy, that's not a problem. But when you have a middle linebacker that is now tier 1, he was tier 2 when he started. You have a defensive end in Aiden Hutchinson that was tier 2, and he's still kind of in tier 2 for me. Can play at the tier 1 level sometimes, but he's still kind of in that tier 2 level. You have a left defensive tackle in Ali McNeil that is tier 1 when he's healthy. This year was not a great year for him, but the previous year showed why he is who he is. And then you had Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, tier 1, started out as tier 3, tier 2, but they quickly showed as to why, at least Brian did, quickly showed as to why he's a tier 1 safety. It took Kirby 3 seasons to do that. Terry and Arnold, we don't know yet, but go back last year. Carlton Davis was tier 1. So if you keep looking around the roster, you've got 6, 7, 8 guys. You got a couple of elites sprinkled in, and then you got a bunch of tier 2 guys that can play at a high level. As opposed to going all in on 2 guys, and then you have tier 3 guys everywhere with a couple of tier 2s because you can't afford it, or you have to live through the draft only, and it takes time for those players to develop. I think what Brad has been doing has been waiting for these players to develop and saying, okay, we know who they are now. They're performing at a high level. Now we can maybe get a little bit more risky and do a little bit more in free agency. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he keeps rolling with the way he's rolling. But you can't tell me that the Lions don't have 8 or 9 guys on that defense that are tier 2, 1 and are tier 2, almost tier 1 guys. Most of them, if not all of them, drafted. That is how you win. You can't just have some turds everywhere and a couple of elite guys. It doesn't work. Seattle has a bunch of tier 2 guys and tier 1 guys spread all over the field. So he's doing it the right way. He's absolutely doing it the right way, in my opinion. Taking a little bit deeper look here at some of the stats from yesterday, and the reason why this game went the way it did. Let's talk about the secondary for a moment. Very first play of the game, very first sack of the game, Will Campbell got shredded. Got shredded the entire game, right? I want to come back to that. Don't let me forget to talk about that because that was my biggest call on Friday. But the secondary, Nick Emanawari, held it down, locked down all night. Devon Witherspoon held it down, locked down all night. Had a TFL in the game. Almost had a sack. He did have 1 sack in the game. I think that was in the second quarter on a corner blitz. Reek Woolen. I mean, those 3 guys, or 4 guys, Job, Emanawari, Witherspoon, and Woolen, and Bryant were all your leading tacklers and had some of the best stats in the game. Let me whittle this down a little bit better. Not letting me.
Wow, looks like Ernest Jones had 10 tackles.
Ernest Jones had 10, so coming from the linebacker spot. And then after that, it fell off. But if you look at your corners and your secondary, aside from Ernest Jones, who was the leading tackler, Job, Amenawari, Witherspoon, Woolen, and Bryant all led the team.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody else close to them other than Ernest Jones. So that's the most impressive part to this. This whole Super Bowl to me is that they developed the best secondary in the league, which, again, I've been trying to tell everybody, if you don't have a great secondary, it doesn't matter what you have up front. Eric, what did they run with the majority of the night on that defensive line?
4 linemen.
So they were 2 linemen and 2 linebackers, right?
Yeah,
3-4, 2 linemen, 2 linebackers. And they ran a 4-man front almost the entire night, other than when they had 6 DBs in the game. And they were able to get pressure just by running 4. Very similar to what the Eagles did last year. A little bit different style, but very similar. And the reason why is because of their secondary. You can't do that without an elite secondary. You just can't. Very impressive night. And again, if Brad and Calvin Shepard and Dan have learned something from this, is that you must invest heavily in your secondary again this year. Primarily because we cannot afford to wait and see approach with Kirby Joseph or Brian Branch. You can't. You can't do it.
I tell you what, this is my 50th year of being a Lions fan, and I'll tell you what, this is the defense the Seahawks have. I've dreamed of the Lions having for my entire life, and they've never had it.
Say that again.
I am jealous of the Seattle Seahawks defense. That is the defense I wish the Lions had. You put that defense on our Lions with any of the offenses we've had for the last 5 years, we're winning the Super Bowl 5 years in a row.
Yeah, so to answer a question in the chat, someone says, Nicholas Wyatt says, so you're saying it's a scheme issue with our defense? No, it's not necessarily a scheme issue. It's more of having a diverse scheme at the right time. There's nothing wrong with running the 4-3, the 4-2 hybrid. There's not in the 4-2-5 nickel. I mean, those are the primary fronts that the Lions are in.
And no, Nicholas, we did not have it in the Sue era, the defense that I wanted. This is the
2014 was the best. Was the best defense we've had,
but that one doesn't compare to this. I don't think that defense compares to this Seahawks defense.
No, and even then, I mean, if you go back and look at Sue, I think his best year was 8 sacks, maybe.
No, I thought it was 9 or 10.
I think it was 8, but either way, 9 or 10. Getting that many sacks out of the interior is insane. Sue was different. I mean, come on, he's Calvin Johnson different, right? So the thing that I'm trying to explain here is I want to see more of a diverse scheme, and everyone that has done lives with me or has listened to me break down, games during the week prior to the game, I'll say I want to see 3 safeties. Why do I want to see 3 safeties? Go back and watch last night's game. Go back and watch when they had 3 safeties in the game. What happened? They here I can tell you what happened. Matter of fact, let me go to this. Let me go to the second. I think it was the second sack. Before you bring that up, Eric, let me finish this. I think it was the second sack of the game. Now it wants to say there's no videos available. Liar. Come on. Oh my goodness. I got to redo this all over again. Go ahead, give me the stat while I pull this back up.
So Sue had 10 sacks in his rookie year, and he never eclipsed 10 again. The closest he got was 8
there
in
you
his
go.
3rd season.
So get it, and where did he hover? Like, give me the rundown.
So 10, 4, 8, 5, 8, 6, 5, 4, 4, 2, 6, 6, 1.
So he probably averages about 6.5.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, yeah, best defense we've seen since 2014 is what we have now. You feel the same way, but Ndamukong Suh was dominant in other ways. What the number that we need to look at is how many TFLs did he get. The numbers we need to look at is how many times did he get stuffs and stops in the run game. Those are the numbers we need to look at.
I was actually happy with our defense the first 8 games of the season.
The sacks are not the most important number. It's just that's just what a lot of general public feels is, and in my opinion, it's not. It never will be. But let me go back to the second play of the game, or the second sack of the game in last night's game. Drake May is in shotgun, and let's see where we at. It's first quarter, 4:15 left in the game, 3rd and 15. Seattle's at the 48-yard line, so not quite in 4-down territory, but maybe they should have been. Here's the defensive alignment for the Seahawks. You have Byron Murphy. I believe he's on the left side of the defensive line. You have Leonard Williams, defensive end. I think he's on the right side as a defensive tackle. And then you have outside linebackers, DeMarcus Lawrence and Derek Hall. I'm pretty sure Lawrence is up top left and Derek Hall's bottom right. And then you have inside linebacker Ernest Jones, and that's it for linebackers. You have 3 corners and 3 safeties. Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Nick Emenaware, Josh Jobe, Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon. 6 DBs. And it's, again, 3rd and 15. They're passing. And this is what drives me nuts when Kelvin Shepard should know they're passing. And he rolls in and he runs a crazy man scheme, runs with the 4-3, doesn't go into a nickel, and then you get beat. And you end up giving up a first down, or you give up 14 yards, and then they go for it on 4th and 1 because now they're up to the 40, 36-yard line, or they kick a field goal now. It drives me nuts. As opposed to just putting 6 DBs in the game, you can now bracket and shut down everybody. You go to a 2-high safety shell. You go man up on everybody else. So there's 5 DBs wasted there. And then you have 1 DB, in this case, I believe is Devon Witherspoon, off to the right side of your outside linebacker to the boundary side. All right. Play runs. They run 4. Hold on, let me go back. Start to play. The 1 DB that is covering the slot receiver takes off running immediately. Does a corner blitz. Why can they do that? Because they have 6 DBs on the field. Number 1. Why else can they do that? Because now the safety that's up top that was in behind of that DB, I don't know which one it is. I think it was Devon Witherspoon, because this might have been his sack. He's able to pick up the slot. So everyone's covered man up, but they're also playing off man. On the top side of the field, you're given a 5-yard cushion and a 10-yard cushion. On the bottom side, it's man on man, which I believe is the tight end, if I'm not mistaken, or it's Stephon Diggs. So they run the corner. The linebacker, Ernest Jones, he runs back, drops into coverage. Nick Emenaware rushes, and Devon Witherspoon rushes. So essentially, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6-man rush. So you got 5 on 5 in the back end, and you've got 6-man rush up front. Everyone's covered, and they still have a free safety over top. Now, where Drake Base really screwed up here is he had his outlet pass wide open, and he's looking top left. He's looking downfield. And this is where Witherspoon's able to get in there and get him for the sack. So it just drives me nuts that we don't run more unique schemes like this, and it's not like we don't have the players to do it. We do. But you can't run a 3-4 on the defense that we have now. We don't have the players to run a 3-4, but we can run this style of a scheme, which would be I mean, really, it's like a 4-1, a 4-1-6. if you really want to call it that. It's a 4-1-6. I don't even know if that's a real scheme, quite honestly. But that's what it would equate to. 4 guys on the line, 1 linebacker, and 6 DBs. I don't know.
Patriots just didn't have an answer until the Seahawks went to a prevent defense. Oh, my favorite defense in the world, in halfway through the fourth quarter. Because going into the fourth quarter, Drake May had 100 yards passing, and he ended up with almost 300. He threw for 200 and something yards in the fourth quarter. It was the most any quarterback has ever thrown for in the fourth quarter. I can get you the exact stat here too. So
Mike P, like I just responded to, but yeah, that'll take some time to figure out, because you'd have to go through every Super Bowl. If we did it for like the last 20, I mean, it still takes some time, but if you go through the last 20 years to figure out which type of defense those defenses ran, you could probably get that done in an hour or so. You just have to go watch a little bit of film just to kind of see what how their rosters are built, and see what they rolled with. What are you looking up?
Oh, I was looking up I was trying to find the Drake May thing. I can't find it now.
What thing? What are you looking for?
He broke a record for the most passing yards in a quarter in Super Bowl history last night in the fourth quarter.
Oh, well.
I had some Super Bowl records pulled up.
You're probably going to want to go to like NFL on Twitter or something.
Yeah, I lost it. It's all right. But I did find some other stuff. So Sam Darnold, he made a bag last night. And what do I mean by that? Well, here's all the bonuses that Sam Darnold hit this year. He had a bunch of bonuses put into his contract, and he hit them all. He got $500,000 for having 4,000 plus yards. He got $500,000 for having a 67.5% completion rate. He got
or better, right?
What's that?
Or better.
Yeah. And then it was supposed to be 65% or better. And then he got $500,000 for a top 10 defense, $500,000 for a playoff berth, $500,000 for a divisional round.
Hold on. Why would he get $500K for the top 10 defense?
Offense.
Oh, I think it's a defense.
No, I said offense. And then he got $500,000 for the conference championship win and $1 million for the Super Bowl, for a total of $4 million extra dollars in bonuses. He hit them all this year. That's just amazing.
That's crazy. And by the way, that was Brian Brady that asked the question, not Mike P. My bad. Yeah, that's nuts, man. He made some big time money last night. I just got to ask the question, Eric. Can the Lions win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff?
Oh, hell yeah. You put Jared Goff on either one of those teams, and I think that team wins the Super Bowl versus who they were playing against.
I think he would have given the Patriots a much better shot, but again,
yeah.
Drake May has wheels, and he couldn't even escape out of the pocket, but a couple of times.
Drake May is too inexperienced still in the NFL. Okay, he's a second-year quarterback that could not hit the open zone lanes. He couldn't find the openings in zone last night. He couldn't do it. Where Jared Goff has been doing it for 10 years already. He knows every hole in those zones. He knows where to put the ball. He loves playing against zone.
Well, I guess to further my narrative of the day, one of the top articles on NFL.com is Seattle Seahawks Devon Witherspoon shines brightest for the defense. And I can't say that, that I'm surprised that, this is what everybody else is feeling and thinking, because I feel the same way. Brad has to get it back together, man. He has to go deep. I don't care. I know that we need offensive line, but I'll just say this. If Brad somehow figures out the offensive line in free agency, which is possible, then I don't care if we take a safety or a corner in the first round. I really don't. I really don't care as long as that player makes the most sense, because after the second round, I believe in this game or in this draft, excuse me, I just don't see it. I don't see the depth in this draft. So if you're gonna strike and try to rebuild for the future, because 1 year is 1 year, right? So whatever you're gonna do in free agency, that is 1 year. But you need the future to be handled. And the only way you can do that is by ensuring that you draft. And you draft well. So I wouldn't care. But he has to get the offensive line fixed first.
Couple more crazy stats from last night. Sam Darnold was in the same quarterback class as Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson, and he won a Super Bowl before any of them.
Yeah, he was the first quarterback, first Super Bowl winner out of that.
Yeah, and then Drake May, he set a record for the most passing yards in a single quarter of a Super Bowl in NFL history with 235 yards in the fourth quarter.
That's nutty.
That was garbage time. You know, that was prevent defense at the end of the game. Drove me nuts, but is what it is.
Here's the article on Devon Witherspoon. Rose to his feet, turned to see his teammate running toward the end zone, raised his hand in the air. He says, with one finger extended towards the night sky, Witherspoon announced Seattle's ascension to the NFL's throne. It was only right that he was the one who led them there. Owning a 22-7 lead and needing one more knockout punch to send the Patriots to the mat, the Seahawks turned back to a method that they rarely used throughout their journey to the Super Bowl. They required calling Witherspoon's number, dialing up their blitzing Fox to knife through New England's pass protection and wreak havoc one final time. It worked like a charm. Witherspoon's fourth quarter blitz arrived like a heat-seeking missile launched under the cover of night, slipping untouched between New England's right tackle and running back on a direct path to Patriots quarterback Drake May. When Witherspoon arrived, the collision was explosive, jarring the ball forward directly into the arms of Seahawks linebacker Uchenna Nwasu, who caught it and sprinted toward pay dirt. It all happened so quickly, even Witherspoon was surprised by the result. He says, I ain't even know he fumbled the ball, to be honest. It was kind of crazy. My reaction was kind of late. I'm just living in the moment. The moment was perfect for Witherspoon, or perhaps he was built perfectly for the moment. Either way, the outcome punctuated a dominant showing from a Seattle defense that took NFL's third-ranked offense, twisted it into a pretzel, and discarded it like scraps. I love that. I love that statement there. Julian Love says, that's the nature of our defense. We swarm to the ball. Does that sound familiar, Eric?
Yeah.
What does that sound like?
It sounds like the Detroit Lions.
No, it sounds like my defense, right? My style of defense that I call the hive defense.
Yeah.
You want a bunch of worker bees, man, all buzzing to the ball, all buzzing to the same area. Anyway, he says, we make them line up and earn it each play. And it's just a style. It's a style thing. They were getting excited when they got a 4 or 5 yard run, and then we created a negative play. The next play is just us lining up again and again on defense to just impose our will. That is the energy that the Detroit Lions defense needs back. And if they're not taking a big lesson out of this, then this season upcoming here in 2026 is not going to end well. But anyway, Witherspoon had an incredible game. Big reason as to why this team won. Obviously, we know who the MVP was. I don't even know the last time if there was even a defensive MVP announced. But let's run through the stats real quick, just so we can tell everybody what's going on here. One sec, mine's got to reload. I don't understand. Like, it just had the stats up, and now it's saying that the stats are gone.
Weird.
That's just ridiculous. All right, here we go. Defense, I'm going to start with Job had 6 tackles and assist, TFL. Emanaware, 4 tackles and an assist. Witherspoon, 4 tackles, a safety, and a TFL. Or 4 tackles, a sack, and a TFL. Reek Woolen, 4 tackles. Kobe Bryant, 3 tackles, an assist. Inside linebacker Thomas, 2 tackles, 3 assists. Julian Love, strong safety, 2 tackles, 1 assist, 1 interception. Derek Hall, outside linebacker, 2 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 TFLs. Byron Murphy, defensive tackle, 2 tackles, 0 assists, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs. Ernest Jones, inside linebacker, 10 tackles, 1 assist, 1 TFL. Lawrence, outside linebacker, 1 tackle, 1 assist. Robert Mills, defensive end, 1 tackle, 1 sack, 1 TFL. Boy Mafi, outside linebacker, 1 tackle, nothing else. Julian Reed, nose tackle, 0 tackles, 2 assists. I'm going to pause there. Everyone talks crap about DJ Reader. Well, a lot of people talk crap about DJ Reader and Tyleek Williams. Tyleek Williams is a nose tackle by size. He is a defensive tackle by trade, and he has pass rush upside at 330 pounds. And he's had better games than Julian Reed has all last season. Reed, as a nose tackle, did not have any stats other than assisting on some tackles. At what point are we going to start becoming more intelligent about the player's position and what they're supposed to do? That is the question that I have for everybody that watches football. When they look at stat lines and they see that a nose tackle doesn't have a whole lot, there's a reason for that. One, most nose tackles don't have any stats. They get doubled and triple teamed, and they free everybody else up. That is their goal. That is their job. Stuff the run lanes, force the ball to help, pick up extra bodies, allow your guys to get free. And that's it. It's not this big, gaudy stat kind of a job. It's just, it really isn't. So last night in the Super Bowl, Reed proved that once again. Williams, defensive end, 1 assist. So their defensive ends on the night had 1 tackle, 1 assist, 1 sack. That's it. 1 tackle, 1 assist, 1 sack, and 1 TFL. That was your defensive end play for the Seattle Seahawks last night. Outside linebacker Nuwasu, no stats other than 1 interception. And I believe that was the one that Devon Witherspoon popped the ball out that we were just talking about. Other than that, nobody else had any stats. So when you boil this all down, at the end of the night, your secondary won. They're the reason why. And as far as the sacks go, you could award 2 of them. 2 of them. Well, you know what? Witherspoon didn't get a sack credited on that play, did he? When he popped the ball out. That should have been a strip sack. Should it have not? They just labeled it an interception instead?
Yeah, they labeled it as an interception.
That's weird.
Because the ball never hit the ground.
Yeah, but it was behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I don't know. It went up in the air for a second. He caught it and took it back. So,
interesting. Well, so
moving.
He had another sack, but it turned into an interception, which negated the whole stat.
Yeah.
So you're leading sack artist of the night.
Because otherwise there would have been 7 sacks and it would have set the record.
Of course it would have, right? Someone probably had a big bet on that. Derek Hall, outside linebacker, had 2. And Byron Murphy, defensive tackle, had 2. They were the ones that led in sacks last night. So I mean, again, I mean, your outside linebackers in this defense is kind of like a defensive end, right? But they're a little bit smaller, they're shiftier, they're faster, they play off ball, wide nine mostly wide nine technique. They're usually not in line at all, like up on the line or closer to your tackles, excuse me. So not a crazy night for the defensive ends, let's just put it that way, but defensive tackle, Byron Murphy, the guy you fell in love with at the draft in 2023.
When we were at the combine, man, that guy had Hulk arms for
24,
legs.
24. Yeah.
Yes. 2 years ago, Will and I went to the combine in Indianapolis, and Byron Murphy just impressed me so much. The way he ran, his physique, everything for defensive tackle. And I wanted him so bad. I wanted Brad to draft him in like the 3rd or 4th round, and it just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was agreeing with somebody in the chat. For some reason I said it out loud. That's funny. Anyway, on the other side for the Patriots, Milton Williams had 1 sack. That's it. Yeah. That's all they had. I mean, did he earn his $100 million bag? No. Did he earn it during the season? Yes. He had 2 TFLs. Let me count up the TFLs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 TFLs for the Seattle Seahawks to 6 sacks. So what won the game? TFLs. What won the game? Secondary. What won the game? Keeping your points under 20 on the defense. The 3 most important stats that I talk about the most won the Super Bowl. Not sacks, not defensive ends. Those are the 3 most important stats for every defense.
I don't know.
And interceptions, excuse me, and turnovers.
I don't know why the Seahawks in the 4th quarter decided to switch it up and go to a prevent defense.
Because they had a lead. And they were just trying to keep things in front of them and let them burn up the clock.
I know, but if they would have kept up doing what they were doing, what was working, the Patriots don't score in this game.
Well, I think, one, they probably didn't care about that. They probably didn't care about the records. All McDonald wants to do is win the damn game. Yeah. And look, I'm not a huge fan of the bend but don't break, and it wasn't really a prevent defense. So prevent defense is an actual defense. The style of defense that they were going to was either bigger nickel or smaller dime packages and sub packages. They didn't really go to prevent where they stacked 3 way back, 3 up front. You know, they weren't doing that, or 3 way back, 2 up front. They were still in a normal defensive sub package, but I get what you're saying. They went to more of a bend but don't break, let's call it that, where they allowed more underneath. They allowed more completions to happen, and May started to pick up the pace a little bit. And I think it was funny. I mean, you could probably ask Megan. She's hearing me all night telling Collinsworth just to shut the hell up. I can't stand that dude. Oh, Drake May, he's starting to read that defense now. You watch out. They got a chance. Like, dude, they're playing with this man. They're absolutely playing with this man. They're giving him an opportunity to complete some balls to keep that clock running. You know, whenever they go to that style of a defense and you've got a decent lead, I mean, if the game is going to go the way the game has been going and you're up by 15 points and there's 9-10 minutes on the clock, highly unlikely that you're going to score 2 touchdowns before we score another field goal at least, extending it to a 3-score game. Yep. And so when you start to switch that defense a little bit to say, okay, keep the zones open over the middle of the field. Why? It's a tactical play. Why? Keep the clock running. You tighten the zones on the outside. And the reason you do that is that way they can't get out of bounds. So by forcing that clock to run, and I get this is why Kelvin Shepard, Aaron Glenn have all done the same thing. The difference is the Lions were letting up 20, 30-yard completions over the middle, not 5, 7, 9-yard completions that are manageable. You still got to run 8 plays or 7 plays to get downfield, versus 2 or 3. Big difference. Now, after that major fight that happened with Diggs and I think it was Love or Loeb, one of the two. I think it was Job. They scored in 2 plays. And I think that was just because of the way that, what just happened, right? Everyone was all...
Yeah, did you notice in that fight that there was no flags thrown?
Yeah.
That one of the guys actually threw a punch and it hit the ref in the face and he didn't get ejected and there was no anything.
Look, I don't know if he hit the ref in the face. I didn't see that.
It showed it went like that.
I didn't see that it actually hit the ref. I thought that maybe he was, caught.
He had his eyes closed, so he probably didn't know it was a fist. He probably thought it was part of somebody's helmet or something, but it sure looked to me like that guy made contact with the ref.
There should have been a flag.
And there was only, listen, in this whole entire game, we talked about it last week about there wasn't going to be a whole lot of penalties. Mm-hmm. There was only 7 penalties total. And with less than a minute left in the first half, there had been 0 flags.
Yeah, and you know who opened their mouth?
Talking about having the first half ever with no flags.
Yeah, it was Tirico. Tirico opens up his mouth and says, "There's never been a half in a Super Bowl without a flag." And then 2 minutes later, there's a flag.
But there's only 7 flags for an entire game.
And that's the way it should be. But you know why? If you go back and watch this game, look, I know that there's probably a penalty happening on the field.
That fight, there should have been penalties, and there should have been an ejection.
Probably. There probably should have been. But you know what? When a flag is not thrown on the field, and I'm glad that we heard this.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bull, though.
Well, hold on. I'm glad that we heard this. When they went to the rules book guru, I forget the dude's name.
Yeah.
They asked him, "Hey, what did you think about that? Should there have been a flag?" And they came back with, "Well, there was no flag on the play, so now New York can't get involved. They can't do anything. They can't eject anybody. They can't do replay assist. They can't do squat."
Oh, but that person will get a big fine from FedEx on Tuesday.
Well, yeah, probably, but that's different. The point I'm glad that we heard this is because back when the Lions had these issues, right, with replay assists getting involved and refs overturning plays, or you remember the plays from this year.
2 minutes later.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. The problem was New York did that.
Yeah.
And there was no flag on the field, and the ref throws the flag on the field, 60, 90 seconds later, whatever it was, after a huddle up, and then New York can get involved.
Yeah.
So had a ref just thrown a flag, then yeah, replay assist would have got involved, or New York would have got involved. Players would have been ejected potentially, or personal foul penalties, and if they get one more, then they're ejected. Mm-hmm. But if you watch this game intently, and you go and pay attention like I was to the secondary because they were lighting it up, that was really good defense. And not only was it really good defense, they were not flagging these guys for being ticky-tacky. I think that the refs understood the assignment in this game, and they knew these are 2 defensive heavyweights that are about to go at it. We can't ticky-tack these guys to death, or it's going to ruin the Super Bowl. And that was probably a directive, speculating, right? Allegedly coming top down, saying, do not ruin the Super Bowl. We've had a very tough year with all of this. NFL is rigged and all of these penalties getting called by the refs and plays being overturned. Don't ruin the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there was no, the NFL is rigged last night. I didn't hear anyone really complaining about the reffing last night. I didn't see memes on social media about the refs last night. Nothing.
Well, I don't think it was as much about the refs as it was clean, solid play. The way that
kept their fingers out of this one.
The way that the game should be played. If you go watch Devon Witherspoon and Gonzalez, the way that they they stay in phase, they mirror match very well. And they're right in their hip pocket, man. And they're playing through the hands of the receiver, which can cause penalties. It can cause the yellow laundry to come flying. And it didn't, because when your head's turned, when you're looking at the ball, when you don't got your hands draped around people's waists, there shouldn't be a flag. I thought it was a very solid ref game. Probably one of the best of the year. And that's how it should
But
be. That's how it should be moving forward.
They should all be like that, not.
But again, elite secondary play is what the Lions need. I'm sorry. I'm not going to buy into this BS narrative of defensive end, because you know as well as I do, Eric, whether we agree or disagree, I don't care who you add to the defensive line. Last night, the Seattle here. Let me just go to the stats. I want to see time to throw. Last night, Sam Darnold had 2.8. Oh my God, they're even. I've never seen this before. Both quarterbacks, 2.83 seconds of time to throw on average. 28 pressures on Drake May. 6 sacks. 17 pressures on Sam Darnold. 1 sack. And 2.83 seconds of time to throw. Those sacks that happened on Drake May, the large majority of them were over 3.5 seconds. The quick ones that happened, I would say, was Devon Witherspoon's in the first half, and one of Byron Murphy's that happened in the second half were probably the quickest. Nope, I take that back. The very first sack of the game was probably one of the quicker ones, where he blew through Will Campbell, rolled to got outside leverage, and then chased Drake May down. The only reason why that sack maybe 3 seconds is because he had to chase May down. But he was on him in a heartbeat. That was quick pressure turned into a sack. That is what I want out of Aiden. I want Aiden to be able to bowl, rip, club, swim, do whatever, get free. I'll tell you right now, if the Lions are playing the Patriots, he should be able to totally take care of Will Campbell. They both have T-Rex arms, so it should be a great matchup. Honestly. Let's talk about Will Campbell for a moment. What was my big hot take last Friday?
That he wasn't going to have a good game.
I used an exact word. He was going to get thrashed. That was my hot take. Why did I say that? Do you remember?
Because of his short arms.
Because of his short arms. And when I did all the work on the offensive line last year, or last year's draft, Will Campbell did not make my list very highly. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up my list here. It should be right here. On my draft big board, Will Campbell was the last tackle listed. I had Armand Membu, Jalen Travis, Donovan Jackson, Logan Brown, Jonas Savine, Carson Vincent, Calvin Banks, Anthony Belton, Josh Connerly, Ariante Ursery, and then Will Campbell. Those are my top tackles graded with my proprietary TAP system. Armand Membu was graded out as a score of 42 out of 50. Will Campbell was a 31 out of 50. And what dropped him the most, if I go back and look at O-line of 2025, so I'm glad I have all these stats now and all these things that I've saved. Let me find Will Campbell in here. Will Campbell, coming in as a left tackle. His height was listed as 6'5" in, I think, 7/8. So 6'6", 319 pounds, 9.5-inch hands, 32.68-inch arms. So having arms that are 32.68, that is guard and center type arms to me. 32.68. My grading scale is anything above 31.75 and below 32 is a nope. Not happening. Anything between 32 and 33 is below average. Anything above, 33.5 is below average. Anything from 33.5 to 33.75 is elite. In anything from 34 is elite. Anything 34 and up is rare. So he falls in that below average ranking for his arms. Okay, that matters. It's just part of it, but it matters. And then you get to his wingspan, 77.38. His ape score, get this. It's an Aiden Hutchinson ape score, 0.99. How is it that your wingspan is shorter than your height? How does that make sense? The average NFL player, matter of fact, the average human wingspan is taller than their height by at least 1 inch. The average NFL player's wingspan is 2 inches taller or wider than their height. So at a minimum, as an NFL player, if your wingspan is not 2 inches greater than your height, well, you're already operating behind the eight ball. So he has a 0.99 ape score, which is a giant nope. And his score in his height weight measurables, we'll call it, was a 12. 12, and that is out of 25 possible points. A 12. And then you go to his agility score, where he scored a little bit better. He ran the 40 and sub 5. He had a 176 split, which was average. His vertical was 32, which was elite. His broad was 113, which was elite. His 40 was elite, right? And then he didn't do any bench. So what do I do for bench when they don't do a bench? I give them the blue score, which is below average. Because if you're not going to do it, then I don't trust you. Right? I don't trust that you're going to be able to do it. And so if you can't even put up 20 reps at 225, you're below average. So I gave him a score of 19. Overall score was 31. Actually, his overall score should have been 21 then. So overall score is 33. And then when I go to my list and you walk it down, top tackles, Will Campbell, score of 33, not 31, was the bottom on the list. Armand Membu, 42, Jalen Travis, 40, Donovan Jackson, 36, Logan Brown, 36, 7A, 35, Vincent, 35, Banks, 34, Belton, 34, Connerly, 34, Ursery, 34, Campbell, 33. Now, that number, that rating is just part of it, right? Beyond that, it goes to the film. So I have their agility, their measurements. I have all that. I got a score that tells me where you are in the spectrum of the best that have ever done it, Hall of Fame, gold jacket wearing type of guys that I compare you against. That's how I built this. And your everyday average, Jimmy and Joe, right? And then the guys that suck. So I've built a system that will rank you somewhere in between there. Well, he ended up in an average type of score. Like 33 is average. And even below average by some metrics. Tate Ratledge, he only graded out as the 31. But he was the top guard. He was one of the highest scores. Dylan Fairchild was a 31. Charles Grant was a 31. Tyler Booker was a 29. Miles Frazier was a 29. Gray Zabel, 28. Wyatt Millum, 26. Tate Ratledge was my number one guard. Miles Frazier was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He was my 6th highest graded guard. And again, this is just height, weight, speed is what we'll call it. It's height, weight, speed, measurements, agility scores. And so then from there, I go to the film and then I grade you based on the film and then I get a number back that tells me where you should end up. Tate Ratledge, clearly one of the best. Gray Zabel ended up being an extremely good pickup for the Seattle Seahawks. But these guys are not like Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey, Tristan Wirfs, Luke Godecki, Penei Sewell, Dylan Dawkins, Zach Tom, Akem Okwonu, Trent Williams, Alaric Jackson, Christian Jarrett Darashaw, Joe Alt, Joe Thomas, David Bakhtiari. You know, they're not like all these guys. You know, and in the guard section, we've got Joe Tooney, Quinn Meneers, Frank Ragnow, Quentin Nelson, Chris Lidstrom, Dominic Pooney, Kevin Zeitler, Joe Paterno, and I got to update this year. And then in the centers, you have Frank Ragnow again, Jeff Saturday, Jason Kelsey, Creed Humphrey, Travis Frederick, Ryan Cahill, Marquise Pouncey, Jack Conklin. These are the guys that I'm weighting these scores against. Will Campbell got absolutely fried last night, allowing 14 pressures, which was a career high and might even be a record in the Super Bowl. Tied for the most by an offensive lineman in a playoff game since 2018. This is also marked by the most pressures allowed by a Patriots offensive lineman in any regular season or postseason game since 2018. And across the entire postseason, Campbell allowed 29 pressures. The most pressures allowed in a postseason across the NGS era, and over half of his regular season total of 51. Why is that important, Eric?
Because that means you're not doing your job. You're not getting it done.
I was hoping you were going to go in a different direction.
What were you?
Because you talk about
T-Rex arms.
No. Because you talk about the fourth place schedule.
Oh yeah,
and how important the fourth place schedule is to some of these teams. Well, it is.
Look at these guys. They had the easiest path to a Super Bowl ever. You finally go up against a good team in the AFC Championship game, with a really good defense, a really good offense, and their starting quarterback breaks his ankle.
Yeah, right?
If he doesn't break his ankle, we're talking about a Denver game, and it would have been a much better game had Bo Nix and Denver been in this game versus Drake May.
Dude, you ain't lying. First of all, I think the score would have been much closer. Much closer.
I think there would have been more scoring by the opposing team to the Seahawks. I think it would have been a closer game. It would have been more exciting. I knew going into this game that the Seattle Seahawks were going to get the lead and they were never going to give it up. They were going to blow these guys out. And I knew it. I said all week, for 2 weeks, that this was going to happen, that the Seattle Seahawks were going to win this game. And having that fourth place schedule doesn't mean that they're a bad team. It just means that they beat a bunch of really bad teams to get where they were. And then once they got into the playoffs, I mean, CJ Stroud their defense for the Patriots just smothered him.
So I was trying to stick with Will Campbell here and why the fourth place schedule mattered. So sticking with Will Campbell, the reason why I was asking the question, like why did it matter? Why does the fourth place schedule matter? You kind of touched on it. You're going up against the fourth place schedule, so you're not going up against great teams. Now, it doesn't mean that every team that you play is just a rollover, because clearly if that was the case, well, then the Patriots wouldn't be in the Super Bowl because they were a fourth place team last year and a 4-13 team the last couple of seasons. So, but the reason why I say, Will Campbell had an easier time throughout the regular season is he was going up against teams that were not great. Yep. Some of those teams are rebuilding. Some of those teams are retooling. Some of those teams are close, and they'll be even better this year. But this was their opportunity. They're not going to have this opportunity again next year. I'm telling you right now, the Patriots are going to go from first probably to third. Matt, where did I put them?
Yeah.
Where did I put them? I have them going third. I have them going third next year. That's 2026 that we did a week ago. That's why I was saying it matters, because you're not going up against the most elite class of defensive players, and Will Campbell looked like, oh, he was the right pick. He was the perfect pick, even though everyone said, watch out for those arms. He's got short arms. I don't care about the rest of his work. What I mentioned last week is once this defense or any defense, any team figures out what your true weaknesses are, a guy like Will Campbell is going to get exposed because of the arm length. Why is that? Well, just look at what what's his name? The defensive outside linebacker Derek Hall. I'm just curious. What is Derek Hall's? Yeah. 34.5-inch arms for Derek Hall. His wingspan is insane. So the reason why I go with arm length being a proprietary element to what I do and how I look at players is because of this exact reason. Any team that finally figures out what your true weaknesses are, they're going to be able to exploit it if they have the right player to exploit it. Derek Hall, 34.5-inch arms, elite wingspan, over 1.7 ape score index, powerful, fast. What did he do to get that immediate sack? Early in the game, he went with a straight bull rush. Why? Because he could get his long arms up on the inside of Will Campbell, pushed him back, and then he's able to disengage with his long arms by doing a rip, a swim, something, club, whatever he's got to do, chop, swipe, to get around him and to keep motoring off that edge. And that's exactly what he did. And he did it all game long. So that for me is why I expected Will Campbell to have a bad game. Number one, he doesn't have the measurables. Number two, he had an easier schedule going into the postseason. I think that they got away with one, like you were saying, against Denver. I mean, terrible, snow game and all that too, right?
And it was 10-7. Tell me that game wouldn't have the AFC Championship game wouldn't have had more scoring with Bo Nix out there.
Oh, it would have for sure.
That backup quarterback, Stidham or whatever.
Stidham, yeah.
On, he was horrible. Hadn't thrown a pass in 3 years.
Well, he laced a beautiful one to start the game.
He had one.
I think that he was a product of. I don't want to get lost in the sauce with Stidham, but I think that he was a product of not playing, because you can go to one play that summed up why your backup quarterback needs more time and more opportunity throughout the season. He had no clue what he was supposed to do when he was getting rushed by 3-4 guys, and he's running backwards towards the end zone, and he throws this, I don't even know what you want to call it, this push throw. You take it. You take it. You have it. Kind of a play, where he's just getting rid of the football. That just looked god awful. That's experience, man. They don't have the steelies in the hardest moments. That's where a guy like Jared Goff is going to stay in there and either go down with the ball, right? Just go down, take the sack, just lay down, or throw it away.
Yeah.
He didn't have the experience to know what to do in that situation. You couldn't throw it away. Would have been grounding. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered, but you should have just went down with the ball. So Will Campbell, absolutely thrashed. And as a matter of fact, he ditched the media after the Super Bowl. Didn't talk to anybody. Just completely ditched the media after the game. And his... most Patriots players took some questions from reporters. He declined multiple times and then just left. His night really went from bad to worse when he was widely criticized for not facing the music after a difficult defeat. And I think that's a character thing. The same guy who amped up the Patriots fans by claiming that he would die for May, everyone's playing upon the Hassanin quote, right? You're hearing it more and more now. It went from grit to now everyone wants to die for their coach. Everyone wants to die for their quarterback,
Yeah. Let's just copy the lines some more.
Hey,
It is a copycat league.
Yeah, so is content creation apparently too. So May, he at last year's draft is when he claimed that, but left May to sit and answer all the questions about the team's poor performance. And he said nothing. My question is, why wasn't May moving his feet more? Why wasn't he getting out of the pocket? And as you're the Seahawks offensive coordinator and you're noticing, well, wait a second, my guy's getting crushed. He's got wheels. Maybe we should roll him out. Maybe we should try to get him out of the pocket. Maybe you should bring in some 7-man protections. Didn't do it. It's just boneheaded stuff. But Vrabel said sacks are, well, that's a team number. He said whether we block them every time and the quarterback is responsible, or whether there is somewhere to go with the football, there were times throughout out there were sacks where somebody got beat. There were times when it was on the quarterback. And there were times where it was on the guys we were throwing to. So I'm sure that one of those 3 things led to the 6 sacks that we had. And I think he's absolutely right. There were times when Drake May should have got rid of that ball. There were times when Drake May should have took off running earlier. There were times when guys probably didn't run the right route. And there were definitely a lot of times that Will Campbell put his quarterback in a major situation. So, yeah, Will Campbell, not a good night. He was my number one reason why the Patriots were going to lose this game. Their defense played pretty well until they didn't, I think once you start to lose the way that they were losing, it's pretty tough to stay motivated. Anything else on your list today? The bingo thing. Go over the bingo thing.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep, we need to get the bingo scores out there. So last Friday, you did a little bingo game.
Yeah, so here we go. I had 15 questions, and you get a point for each one you got correct. So the first one, and I know a lot of people at home played along with this, so you can check your answers right now. Will either QB throw an interception? We both said yes. We both get a point. Number 2, will Chris Collinsworth mention Patrick Mahomes? We both said yes, but he did not during the game. He did not mention him. And then number 3, will Seattle miss a field goal? We both said no. We both got a point. Number 4, will the commentators list Sam Darnold's former teams and draft position? They sure did. They had a graphic all made up for it. We both said yes. We both get a point. And then number 5, will either team have a fumble? You said no. I said yes. I get the point on that one. Number 6.
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
Yep.
Where was the fumble?
It lists in the stats there was a fumble. Drake May had a fumble.
No, I think they called it an interception.
If you look at the stats on ESPN, it says there was a fumble.
Hold the phone here. Keep going.
On the box score, it says there was one fumble.
I'm going off NFL stats.
Okay. Does it list a fumble there? I just used ESPN. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, yeah. So, like, you can go to PFF and it'll list different things. ESPN will list different things. They might have called it a fumble, not knowing that it was really called an interception. And I just need to look.
I was thinking of a different play. Because they had.
Here, you know what? Let me just go to the video.
Because he had 2 interceptions and a fumble.
Here we go. I just went to the video.
Yeah, even Trace says May had 2 interceptions and 1 fumble.
Hold on. I just went to the video and I put in fumble.
Yeah.
It says sorry, no results. There's no fumbles in the Super Bowl.
So there was 3 interceptions then?
Well, remember they called the one an interception. That's why
that's
why I was saying, hey,
they had 3 turnovers.
That's why I was saying, hey, the one on Devon Witherspoon when one of the last plays that he rushed in, that turned into he knocked the ball away, or I guess the ball floated in the air. the linebacker took it and returned it, right? So
Yeah.
I thought that was a
one-
fumble, but that was an interception.
No, there was another play with a fumble.
Let me just go and do it one more time. I just cleared my filters. Let me go in and put in fumble. Fumble. Well, I better whittle it down to the game first. Patriots and Seahawks, 178 plays. Fumble. None. Fumble lost. None. Fumble lost. None. It says no fumbles. It won't even show me a play where there's a fumble. I don't remember a fumble. See, the strip fumble. I thought it was a strip fumble too, Cruising, but they called that an interception. I could have sworn it was a fumble. Let me go to the box score here.
Yeah. Two interceptions and one fumble.
By who, though? Who says it?
Let's see. They were all by Drake May.
No. Who? What site? What site?
Let's see. This is Google.
Yeah, I don't care about Google.
Let's see. I'm trying to find it anywhere.
Oh, it's because it doesn't exist. NFL stats, Super Bowl 60.
It shouldn't be that hard to find stuff.
No, it's not. I mean, you just, if you go to, see, I use NFL Pro, which you have the NFL Pro.
Can't get in it.
Why?
You changed your password.
I thought I gave it back to you again. Okay, well, I'll send it to you again today. But in NFL Pro, it doesn't show any fumbles on video, which I thought was weird. So when I sat down this morning, I started looking at it, trying to figure out, okay, what all happened, in the game? What did I miss? And it didn't show anything. Let me go to PFF. Oh, PFF sucks. Go to ESPN.
Yeah, because ESPN lists it.
Well, what we do is go to the play-by-play and the box score, and then that's what I'll look for. So in the box score, it says Drake May, one fumble lost, right? It says Seattle, 0 fumbles, 0 lost, 1 recovered.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you have a recovered fumble if there was 0 fumbles and 0 lost?
Couldn't tell you.
You see what I'm saying? So their stats are not, they're not very accurate. But let's just go into the play-by-play. Here's what we got. It says field goal, punt, field goal, punt, field goal, end of half, punt, field goal, punt. All right, here's a fumble. Let's go in here and look at the fumble. Sack, op, fumble, recovery. Drake May sacked at the New England 37 for 7 yards. Derek Hall recovered the fumble, right? And that was 16 seconds left in the third. And that is the one that they're calling an interception. So let me go to that play. Wow, there's a lot of plays in here. 16 seconds left.
Here, Trace just sent me something. Patriots fumble away their latest possession at risk of first Super Bowl shutout. Let's see.
I'm watching the play now. There it is. I'm going to watch it one more time. Did they get the ball back?
Oh, is there one where they fumbled it, got it back?
No, they didn't get the ball back. So it is a fumble. We'll go to the next play. What the hell? Why does it say there's no videos for this play? What are they trying to hide? Let me go back. Hold on. 16 seconds.
Yeah, this says that
Oh my God. Why is this
Drake May
struggling so
fumbled
bad?
late in the third quarter and the Seahawks recovered. That made it the Patriots' first drive to end in any other way other than a punt.
Okay. Fumbles. And then the next play, it's Seattle's ball. So there is a fumble. NFL Pro's wrong.
All right. All right. So
that was what number again? Number 5?
That was number 5. And then number 6, will either team run the tush push at least once?
I didn't see it.
We both said yes. There was no tush pushing. Number 7, will either team go for a 4th down? You said no. I said yes. And neither team went for a 4th down. So you got that one. And then will Sam Darnold win Super Bowl MVP? Number 8. I'm messed up here.
I said no.
We both said yes. And then this one you said no. So you got this one correct. I got it wrong. And then the next one, who wins the coin toss? It was the Patriots. We both said the Patriots. Number 10, will the Seahawks score first? We both said no. We both got that one wrong. Number 11, will either QB throw for 3 or more touchdowns? You said no. I said yes. You got it right. And then 12, which running back will have the biggest game? We both said Kenneth Walker, and he ended up being the MVP. 13, will the Seahawks listen to beast mode and run the damn ball at the goal line? You said no. They didn't. I said yes, so I got that one wrong. Number 14, will both teams get the lead at some point in the game? You said yes. I said no. And then 15.
So I got that one wrong, right?
Yep. So you said yes, and I said no. So, and then who wins the Super Bowl? We both said the Seahawks. You said 24-21. And I said 27-14. So I was really, really close. I was off by 2 points for the Seahawks and 1 point for the Patriots. So we did pretty darn good. If my calculations are right, you got 8 points and I got 7 points, or you got 9 and I got 7. And so you beat me in the first annual Eric's Super Bowl bingo.
Now, next time we got to put this out like way before.
Yeah. We'll have to have it so you can print it out or something.
Yeah, we can make it a thing. Make it into an article.
Yeah, we could do it for even for Lions games every week.
That would actually be fun. You know where I screwed up this year? I said that I was going to run Survivor Pool. I got to make sure I'm going to make a playbook here in the off season. So I want to do a Survivor Pool for everybody, that wants to participate. And then I want to do weekly squares, not just Super Bowl squares. Like I want to do like a cheap, $2-3 an entry, or square, something like that every week, and just keep the rules very simple. Just something to kind of have fun with, and you'll just be able to purchase it like on Buy Me a Coffee or something like that. So that way, if you go in and you buy it for each week, which I'll get it all loaded up here soon, and that way I'll just have it ready to go for next season. That way we have something to kind of have fun with throughout the year. But that Survivor pool, have you ever played that?
Oh yeah, I've done one of those before. I've
never played with a bunch of people, but like I've played on, like there's like free things you can do on some betting sites.
Yeah.
And one of them had a Survivor pool. It might have been ESPN bets or something like that, or whatever, Fox bets. I don't remember. But yeah, those are fun, man. I usually do pretty well, but in that one you get to pick. I think it's a one winner per week.
Yep. So you pick one team per week that you think is going to win the game, and you can't pick them again.
Right. That's the strategy, man. You have to be super strategic in thinking, okay, do I take the easiest matchup? And then some of those turns out to be, games that flip-flop on you.
Yeah.
And those games are the ones that hurt you the most. I almost tended to call the tougher matchups, but that's just me. I don't know. Maybe we should do it with one mulligan. You have a mulligan pool. So you have the Survivor pool, and then you have the mulligan pool. So if you lose, you go into the losers bracket. So if you get one bad call, you go into the losers bracket for the rest of the year, and the winners keep on going. That way you're not completely out. But then if you lose again, you're completely out. And if we do it with a donation, right? Can't say a bet. Then there'll be a donation for the losers pool.
So did you have any squares for last night?
I didn't do any squares.
No. How did everybody do in the chat? Did everybody have a square and hit their square? Or did you have really crappy numbers?
Well, last night's game, the fact that it was a lot of field goals, I'd have to say that the fourth quarter was probably the best quarter for people that had touchdowns, or those types of numbers. But 3, 6, 9, 12, those 15, like those are not numbers that you expect to have happen. So depending on how you do your squares. What I don't like about squares is if you are not if you are not the one seeing it done, it's kind of hard to trust where people are doing, the squares.
Yeah.
The digital ones, the one that I found last year, everyone pays in, you buy, right? And then it does it live. Like it'll jumble up all the squares and then you get what you get, right? Can't throw a fit. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones I like.
Yeah. Yeah, when it's done randomly. Yeah, I like those too. I was in a very interesting one last night where you got paid for every lead change and for each quarter. So it was kind of interesting the way they did it. I've never been in one like that.
You know what? I'm just thinking here. You know how we can do our squares next year?
What's that?
I can use the wheel, the wheel on, that we can do live.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just put the numbers in the wheel 0 through 9.
Yeah.
Right? And then when it hits, you remove it. So you run the top, you run the bottom, the top, and then the side. So you spin it, the number hits. Okay, that's the top first, and then the top second one. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And you can do it for both teams. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be the way to do it to keep it honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big part with squares, man. I feel like there's a lot of dishonest.
I've never worried about that because even if somebody has 7-7 and 7-4. A lot of games don't turn out that way. Just look at last night. My 3-0 came in really good, and my 9-7 came in twice last night. So you never know what the NFL is so weird. Their scoring ends up being very, very different. So that's the only thing that made the Super Bowl fun last night, because the first half was really boring. And then the fourth quarter, there was lots of scoring, but the Seahawks were so far ahead already that it just didn't make it much fun. There was no lead change, and it was never close. The Seahawks were in the lead and never gave it up.
What did you think about that one run by Walker? I think it was in the fourth quarter. They got called back. Like, did you think that was kind of a cheap penalty?
I did. And the thing about it was, I thought, there goes his MVP.
Yeah.
I thought that was the play right there.
I think they
was
said
gonna
that too.
That was going to win him MVP, because at that point in the game, I thought it was the kicker. I thought the kicker had 5 field goals and he's breaking records. If you're breaking a record in the Super Bowl, you should be the MVP. And if you're breaking 2 records in the Super Bowl, you should definitely be MVP. But then I don't know how they chose Kenneth Walker. If it's me with a vote, I'm voting for that kicker.
How crazy would it have been if a kicker or a punter got an MVP?
Yeah, co-MVP for both those guys.
Well, there should be I think there should be 3 MVPs on a Super Bowl team.
A special team, defense, and offense.
All 3 phases. I think that everybody should get an MVP or a co-MVP, and then you get the true MVP. So you get the true MVP, then you get the co-MVP.
Robbie says it was a clear hold.
Yeah, I mean, I think that slow motion makes it look very hold-like. But when I watch it in real time, that player really didn't have anything to do. I'll go back and watch it again here in just a second. I'll give you a live breakdown on it, kind of what I thought when I watched it again this morning. I never went through the full stats, though. Sam Darnold, 19 of 38, 202 yards, 1 TD, no interceptions, 50% completion rate. Terrible.
So he threw the ball 38 times.
38 times.
That's a lot.
But there's a lot of plays run because there was so much 3 and outs that the Seattle Seahawks, they had a lot more play opportunities. Walker ran the ball 27 times.
Yeah.
So, between the two, you're talking 65 plays in this game. No, there's more than that. 65.
That's actually a lot of plays.
67. 69, 70. There's at least 70 plays, I think, for the offense. At least 70.
But we say anytime you get to that 35, 36 number, you're tempting
30 and
fate. Up. Yeah, you're tempting fate, especially at 35 or higher.
Well, here's my numbers. So 0 to 29, you're unlikely to throw a pick, right? Because these quarterbacks are dialed in, they're good at what they do, and you expect anywhere between 20 to 29 throws a game. Once you hit 30, from 30 to 39, your likeliness of throwing an interception, I think, is twofold. When you get to 40 and you go 40 and up, throwing 2 picks is kind of where I rely on the numbers to be pretty accurate. And then 50 and up, I think 3 picks is not unreasonable. And I don't really go any further than that because I can't tell you how many games a quarterback has thrown the ball more than 60 times. I don't even know if that's really ever happened. I can't remember of any.
Yeah.
But if you look at those numbers and how that flushes out, so from 0 to 29, it's 0 picks. From 30 to 39, it's 1. From 40 to 49, it's 2. And then from 50 to 59, it's 3. Drake May last night threw the ball 43 times.
Yeah.
How many picks should he have had?
2.
How many did he have?
2.
Numbers work, don't they? It's kind of crazy when you dig into the analysis and numbers for as many years as I have. That you start to see patterns and then patterns turn into, reality over time, high probability. And that's kind of that's why I love doing what I do. I think I do things different, than a lot of other people do. How about Cooper Kupp in the game last night? Super veteran, right? Rams give up on the guy and he's the leading receiver. 12 targets, 6 receptions, 61 yards, leading receiver for Seattle. No TDs. No TD for Kenneth Walker last night. 1 for A.J. Barner.
None for Jackson Smith. Jackson Smith and Jigba got a concussion, and we didn't see hiding or hear of him.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared. I mean, he came back. He was good to go, but
4 receptions for 27 yards.
Yeah, and 10 targets.
Yeah.
So he got targeted plenty, but I mean, Gonzalez is just making play after play after play. Like he was, their whole plan walking into this game was to bracket and erase JSN. And I think that's why man, it really boggles my mind at how impressive the Lions roster is and how unstoppable they should be. When you think about it, okay, if Jameson Williams is as good as what people make him out to be, then there should be zero reason why the Lions can't score points and can't just run all over teams when you have players like Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just those guys. And then you have Sam Laporta when he's healthy. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to just maul teams to death. But for some reason, if Amon-Ra St. Brown is having a pedestrian game for him, which is, 4 or 5 catches and 60 yards, not every time does Jameson Williams rise to the occasion. And if Sam Laporta is healthy, he usually does. So you're going to find out once my whole nightmare of a problem that I have brewing over here gets fixed today. I've got some articles coming out, and I've got multiple free agents that I'm looking at. One of whom I think can be, I hate to use the word skeleton key, but I think a player that can really unlock the potential of this offense. And it's almost a luxury pick, or a luxury signing, if you will, to bring this player in. And people will probably balk at it, simply saying, well, we need defense, we need offensive line. Why would you do that? Well, you'll see why. There's a play. It's a play that I have in mind, Eric. Matter of fact, the player that I'm talking about is Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
And I drew up a play this weekend, and I call it the torch. And I'm going to run it by you, but let me just kind of run through Kyle Pitts. Are we good with the Super Bowl thing? Are we done with it? Is there anything else you want to add to it?
Sure. No.
Okay. Attila, you want to hit that?
Oh, sure. Attila the Hun, he's got a $2 super chat and says, happy the Lions didn't draft James Pierce now. Well, he got in a little bit of trouble this weekend, apparently.
Just a little.
Yeah. So the Lions not drafting him and letting him go to Atlanta was a very, very good thing. So maybe Brad Holmes did get one right because of the red flags that were there before the draft. And there were things in his personality and stuff that I'm sure kept Brad away, even though the physical part of it was there, and it kept a lot of teams away. So I think Brad Holmes, he avoided a landmine on that one, and he did a good job. So good on you, Brad Holmes.
It's hilarious, man.
Because that's a sticky situation there.
I hate the words "I told you so."
Yeah,
I really do. I hate using it. But last year, everyone was saying James Pierce was the guy. Lions have to get James Pierce.
Well, and he seemed to be the guy in Atlanta. He had a good season. But there were a lot of people saying he should have been defensive rookie of the year. I don't think so. I think they got that right. But there were people crying for him to be defensive rookie of the year.
So he was supposed to be a top. Everyone kept saying he was a top 15 pick. Top 12, maybe the second or third defensive end taken off the board in last year's draft, right? He ended up going 26th to the Falcons.
Yep, and they drafted 2 edge rushers.
Decent season, yes. Does he fit the measurables? Yeah, 6'5", 10-inch hands. His arms are just barely short at 32 3/4, but his ape index is crazy good. Yeah, he fits all the height, weight, speed stuff. He's fast. He's instinctual. He does all the things, but there were some things that were popping up about his attitude and everything else. There was problems that he was having with coaches, other players. Just things that you didn't necessarily feel comfortable with, right? when I watched that video of him getting arrested, there was probably no less than 50 cop cars.
Oh, there's actually a video?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't see any of that.
Oh, yeah.
I just read the story that apparently, allegedly, his girlfriend and him got into a fight, and he was trying to stop her from going to the cops with his Lamborghini, and he slammed into her with his Lamborghini and then slammed into a police officer with his Lamborghini.
Yeah. So he got, allegedly the stalking
Allegedly.
and all this other stuff going on. But yeah, more than 50 cop cars responded to this.
Wow.
And he probably had 8 cops on top of him trying to get him to the ground. And it looked like they were tussling a little bit. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. You threw away everything. I don't know if he comes back from this. It's wild for sure. It's wild. Let me put some of this stuff to bed here. All right, let's talk about Kyle Pitts for a moment.
Yeah. I'm excited that the Lions could actually have a possibility of bringing him in.
So I've got my new format for free agency I've been working on all weekend. That's why I haven't been doing any videos or any articles, because I'm working on a tool that helps, is helping me with doing some research so that I can make sure that I get all of the right stuff put together. So I laid out an outline for this. We kind of start with a little bit about the player. We go into a bio and a background, and then I kind of give you like a glance at, some information about the player. NFL career snapshot. I do that. I throw in their lifetime stats, or at least the last 4 or 5 years, depending on how big the lifetime is, right? I go through 2025 season evaluation, path to free agency and retention. And then I go to my scouting report. And then I created this thing called the scheme fit and a fitment test, which I'm still flushing it out. It still has some work left to do. And then I go into the market value. I use Spot Track. I use their market value. And then I give you my market value. Every year I've gone in and evaluated the players that I felt were fits to the Lions and or are free agents. And I've been pretty close on what they're handing out for money to these guys. Now with the latest, injection of cash from the NFL the last couple of seasons, that throws a little bit of a wrinkle into this, because, some of these guys might get more money just because of that. Not necessarily that they deserve it, but they might just because the NFL has raised the salary cap as much as they have. And then I go into team fits, risk factors, and then my final take. Now, they're very long articles. Okay, they're packed full of information. But where this is going to next, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it done this year or not, because I'm just one dude that's doing this pretty much by myself behind the scenes. I need some people. But I'm going to create a magazine, and it's going to be every draft. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do like my top 50. I'm going to have to be careful how I do it, because I want to do it like geared towards just the Lions. And then I also want it to be geared kind of towards the NFL. Like I want to do something that competes with all the rest of the people out there that do this stuff at a high level. Now they have waves and waves and waves and waves of people behind them that make that engine run. Yeah, I don't have $500,000 a year that I'm going to pay people to make the engine run. But I know at some point, this will make $500,000 a year at some point, right? The point is, I want to put this magazine together that people can buy every single year and get the unlocked version of everything that I'm talking about and what my draft takes are. I don't like putting stuff out there for free so people can just steal it all, because that's what they do. And that's okay. I mean, we look at everybody else's stuff. At some point, I will, look at mock drafts, usually after mine are all done. This year, we looked at a couple early, like round one for a couple of people. But after that, it's lights out for me. I don't want to listen or hear what anyone else is doing. And that's done by purpose so that I don't have any biased takes. I don't want to be biased. I don't want to think like anybody else. I don't want to do what anybody else is doing. Doesn't mean that some of my players may or may not align in the same spots. They could. I think that your top 50 is unique to you, and then your draft board is unique to you. My draft board's always been different than everybody else. It's, outside of your top 10 picks that, or top 5 usually that everyone kind of gets right. Trades are what screws it all up. And it's the trades that are a problem. So this year, at a minimum, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put out a competition, and it's me versus you.
All right.
Everybody. Not just you, Eric. Everybody.
Ah.
So I'm going to put up my board. When we get there, it'll be after the free agency. When I put up my final board, you'll have an opportunity to bet against it. You'll buy into it. There's going to be like 5 ways to buy into it. As a matter of fact, I think I destroyed my note. Yeah, I did. There's going to be 5 different ways to buy into this. So you're going to be able to pick the pick for every team in the first round, the player, and then you can do the position. So you may not get the player right, but you might get the position right. Well, let's say it's $10 to buy in to do the 32 picks, and it's a pool. So if you get 20 out of 32 right, and 10 other people get 20 out of 32 right, and I got 19 of them right, well, you guys won. And so that pool of money that gets brought into all of this will get then split up between everybody else that bought in. Does that make sense? Kind of like, shared squares.
Yep.
So there's those 2, and then there's going to be Detroit Lions picks 2 ways. You're going to be able to pick the Lions picks for the first 3 picks or first 4 picks. Doesn't matter the round. It's just the player, right? You're going to pick the top 3 or 4 players that the Lions are going to draft. I haven't decided how many yet. And then you'll be able to pick the position for each round. Again, same way. So I'm going to put something like that together, a competition, so that, all the people out there that want to say they know ball or say that they wanted this person versus that person or they got it right. Well, let's put it up there on paper. And let's go me versus you, my money versus your money. And let's have some fun with it. But Kyle Pitts, here we go. 6'6" wingspan, man. This dude has got the wingspan of 6'6" with the wingspan of an offensive tackle. He has 4.4 speed, or at least he did prior to his injury. And he's more like a wide receiver playing tight end. He isn't really just a tight end. He's exactly what you get when you build the perfect offensive weapon in a lab. He became a big-time schematic advantage as a rookie. And just delivered a second-team All-Pro campaign during 2025. So he proved why he might or still be the most dangerous mismatch in football today. Now, defensive coordinators know that linebackers can't run with them. Corners are too small to fight with them. And when you combine those rare physical traits with a polished route tree, you get a player that doesn't just move the chains. This guy changes the entire geometry on the field for 60 minutes of a game. I'll spare you the bio and background, but in his junior season at Florida, he caught 43 passes, 770 yards, 12 touchdowns in just 8 games. He became the first tight end ever to be named to the Fred Biletnikoff Award finalist. he cited his desire to go support his family, so he entered the draft. He didn't come back the next year. And he may have left Florida as arguably the greatest tight end prospect in SEC history. But he entered the draft as the highest drafted tight end in league history. The at a glance will give you this information, that his status is unrestricted free agent. He's 25. He's 6'6". He's 245. He runs a 4.44 40. He has 10.6 inch hands, 33.5 inch arms, an 83.4 inch wingspan. And then I also need to add the ape score. I forgot to add the ape score. Ape index. What a funny word, right? Ape index. It tells you where he went to college. Anyway, thoughts. Tell me in the chat, what do you think about the magazine idea? Where he went to college, digital magazine, by the way, not print. Draft year 21, round 1, pick 4. He's earned about $44 million so far. Injury history, MCL sprain, knee surgery 22, knee inflammation 25, hamstring 2024. And then it goes into his career snapshot. So he was expected to come into the league, redefine that tight end position. And then he really began his journey by joining the Mike Ditka era as the only rookie tight end in NFL history to eclipse 1,000 yards in his rookie year. And then his career arc kind of is a story of elite promise met with early adversity. And now you get, coaching volatility, inconsistent quarterback play that kind of shaped his career the way that it is today. He suffered that multi-ligament knee injury in 2022, and it really sapped his explosiveness in 2023. And then in 2024, he started to show some flashes. Of his former self, but it was 25 where he had that big revival, kind of like his rookie season. Eric, if you were to name like a couple of the biggest reasons why Pitts would make a lot of sense for Detroit, what would they be?
Well, go back and look at the Tampa Bay game from this year. He had 11 receptions on 12 targets, only missed one pass. He had 166 yards, 15.1 average, 3 touchdowns. He took that game over and won that game for Tampa Bay 29-28, or for Atlanta, over Tampa Bay. And listen, he is a tight end that can take over a game. He can be the reason you win the game, but doesn't have to be every single game. You put him in our offense with better quarterback play. You're going to have most likely better line play than Atlanta. You're going to have much better wide receivers, a much better quarterback, probably equal on the running back. Bijan Robinson is pretty darn good. And I just think it's an upgrade to not only the Lions offense, but it's an upgrade for Kyle Pitts to go from Atlanta to Detroit. He's going to be in a system where 2 tight ends are going to be favored because Petzing, that is his big thing, is using 2 tight ends. So let's build an offense around Laporta and Kyle Pitts. Hell yeah, let's go. Sounds good to me. We might have to work with Hank Fraley and Kyle Pitts and get Kyle Pitts doing some blocking drills, get him polished up on his blocking, and there we go. We got 2 overall really good tight ends. I'm ready for it. Now he might be expensive.
So if I heard you correctly, it was
he can take over a game.
Yeah, he absolutely can.
He's proved it. He doesn't always have to, but in the situation you need someone to step up, just like Sam Laporta, I think he can do it. Maybe not as consistent as Sam Laporta does. but he can be the guy when you need one. And on our offense, I think it's going to be a major upgrade over the Atlanta offense. From scheme to quarterback to everything else. The only thing that's kind of equal between the two teams is the running back situation.
So, and I would agree with all that. When I started really digging into him, one, he's been a weekly highlight reel in 2025, and it was that Tampa game, right? The Tampa game that was that 165 or 166 yard 3 touchdown performance in week 15. His rookie season, he was kind of a historical outlier. Second rookie tight end ever to, that 1,000-yard mark. 25, he had 88 receptions, 928 yards, 5 touchdowns. Pro Bowl in 21, second team All-Pro in 25, and then durability, like even though he's had that knee injury and the knee surgery, 4 out of 5 seasons so far he's played all 17 games. 2021, his rookie year, 23, 24, and 25. So 2022 was the only year that knee injury held him up a little bit. And I think he played 7 or 8 games that year, if I'm not mistaken. 10 games that year. So every year that I look at his stats, right, his rookie year when he was really healthy, 1,026. Even in 2022, hold on one sec. Even in 2022, he was having a decent year. He was averaging about 35, 36 yards per game, not great. And then comes back in 23 with 697 or 667, bounces back in 24. Doesn't have a great statistical output, to only 602 yards, but what was he dealing with? Inconsistent quarterback play, inconsistency at the offensive coordinator position, right? 2025 finally put a few things together. Why? Well, why did he put a few things together? Well, I'll start with this. It was a masterclass in modern tight end usage, number one. He finished second among all NFL tight ends with 114 targets, 88 receptions, 928 yards. His advanced metrics were equally as staggering to those numbers. He led the position in air yards and finished with an 82.0 PFF grade while he dealt with minor knee inflammation, which is the only thing that I'm worried about, is this minor knee inflammation that creeped up. It limited his practice reps in December, and then he also proved that even though he was dealing with that he could play in all 17 games and take on the workload. Now, I keep losing my hearing for some reason. Yeah, something might be wrong with my ears. So in 2017, like I said, or 2025, played 17 games, snap counts, 87% of the snap counts, 961. And his advanced metrics are 1.89 yards per route run and 104 passer rating when targeted. His primary role was the F for the move tight end and also kind of an X receiver hybrid. His path to free agency, why the Falcons won't retain him, or will they retain him? So despite this production, all-pro production, the Falcons are kind of caught in this financial pincher, if you will. Atlanta has transitioned to a new coaching staff, right? You have Kevin Stefanski there now, whose offense traditionally values the more affordable high floor blockers over market resetting receiving specialists. Now, I mean, that's the theory, but we don't know if Kevin Stefanski is going to look at this and be like, well, are you really a tight end, or are you more of an X style of receiver? So with the Falcons projected to face this massive cap hit to retain him, the rumors are, at least from what I drummed up last week in speaking with a couple people, are that they may prioritize defense or trade for a veteran familiar with the system. Per some sources, there are significant questions regarding Atlanta's willingness to authorize a long-term contract, given the fact that his right knee inflammation was cited as a major concern. Doesn't mean that it's a major concern for the Lions, and I think that with Kirby's knee issue, that these things could be outliers as to why maybe he doesn't end up in Detroit. But cap constraints, I think that navigating cap space is going to be an issue for a lot of teams. I think that the transition to Kevin Stefanski could throw a wrench into them keeping Pitts. And I think the potential market setting extension could just be too rich for the Falcons in what is a rebuild plan for 2026. And then the franchise tag. If they wanted to franchise tag him, it's $16.4 million. At least that's the projection this year for tight ends. My scouting report, look, I'm not going to go through it all, but I think you got a rare blend of size, athleticism, the ball skills. He possesses the ability to dominate games from any alignment. He forces defenses to alter their rosters just to kind of match up with them, and then they can't. Especially when the roster contains multiple weapons like the Detroit Lions roster does. I mean, he has unrivaled catch radius, 83-inch wingspan, 50-50 balls, no problem. The speed, still runs sub 4.5. Basketball background. The dude is, I mean, it's like playing basketball on grass with this guy. He's legitimately an X style of receiver in a bigger frame. He kind of reminds me of Calvin Johnson, honestly. Calvin, similar size, just 1/10 of a second faster. Inline blocking, not his greatest. Like his developing areas, not as not as greatest. I think he can leverage himself to block, but I think he's out there to catch passes. Consistency in traffic, sometimes he struggles, or occasionally he struggles. And weather durability, his games in bad weather have not been great. The scheme fit for the Lions, it's there. I don't even have to go through that. It's there. Petzing uses 12 and 13 personnel quite often. Now, again, Petzing's going to design a new scheme in Detroit. It's not going to be exact fit to what it was before. And then Kafka, I think that when you look at Kafka's flex options and his concepts, I think that Kafka is going to have some big influence with some of these, wider formations and RPO packages. Here's the fitment test. So I go through, depending on the player, it's 10 to 15 different things. RPO fit, yes. Wide zone fit, yes. Gap scheme fit, no. Historically poor run blocking grades, that's why. But is he still a gap scheme fit from a third tight end as a pass catcher? Yes. 11 personnel fit, yes. 12 personnel, yes. 13 personnel, yes. Play action fit, yes. Extremely dangerous on deep overs and crossers. Vertical threat, of course. Elite seam stretcher. Red zone value, 100% yes. Motion usage fit, yes. Kafka orbit return specialist, 1000%. Jumbo formation fit, not really. Liability and heavy run sets. My final verdict, though, is Pitts is a skeleton key, like I said, for any style of an offense that Petzing decides to run. He perfectly fits the wide zone concepts that demand athleticism and space, but he also offers the elite vertical threat needed for the RPO spread concepts. Spotrac is saying $10.8 million. 4 years, 43.322 is what they're saying. Market rank. He's ranked as the 11th tight end in the market. So the comps that I have are obviously nowhere close to this. The comps that they used were Jake Ferguson and Dalton Schultz at 12 and 12.5 APY. Mine, this is my comp. Kyle Pitts, he enters free agency as the statistical anomaly, while teams typically force players with recent multi-ligament knee injuries into 1-year prove-it deals. Pitts effectively played his prove-it year while still on his rookie contract. His 2025 campaign, undeniable. He finished as the NFL's second best tight end and the 22nd ranked pass catcher overall. The question for Detroit is one of distribution. Does adding Pitts create a super team offense that elevates everyone, or does he inevitably cannibalize the target share of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, Isaac Tesla, and Jahmyr Gibbs? Just saying those names is crazy.
Yeah.
Is he a force multiplier who opens up lanes, or is he a expensive luxury that will see his own production diluted in this crowded room? Go ahead.
I think he would carve out a decent role.
Well, I think so too.
Even I think that Tesla is going to have quite the role. He could have some of that role too, where they're the guys down in the end zone. Because what do Gibbs and Monty like to do? They like to run the ball and get us right down into the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all these opportunities for Jared Goff to throw touchdowns. And he did that 6 times with Tesla this year. He does it with Amon-Ra and JMO. To have someone of his size, bigger than Tesla, he's taller, bigger, that can body out one of those corners or safeties, man, that's kind of like a missing piece that we need. And I forget that Sam Laporta didn't play most of the season, and having him back 100% would be awesome. But my question is this: let's say that we are to sign Kyle Pitts. Which contract between Kyle Pitts and Sam Laporta is going to be for more money, and which one would you want to get done first?
Well, Kyle Pitts coming to Detroit would be coming in on a new contract right away.
Yep.
Sam Laporta drafted in 23, right?
Yep. So he's up for an extension or a 5th-year option.
No 5th year.
Oh, no, not on Sam, because he was a 2nd round.
Yeah.
So you have to get a new contract done with him sometime this year.
Yeah, the new contract is either done this year or it's done before free agency after the season.
Yeah.
And you can franchise Sam if you really needed to. So I would say no contract for Sam Laporta, quite simply, unless it's a cheap contract.
Well, hold on. Isn't Sam kind of in a prove-it-year deal this year since he got hurt last year?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what it is, but he's already under contract. So the same kind of thing that Pitts went through, like he was going through prove-it years, but he was already under contract as a rookie. So the last 2 seasons, 23 and 24, those were kind of the prove-it years. Like, are you good? And then 25, he breaks out again like he did in a rookie season. Same thing for Sam. He had a great rookie year. He slid off the last 2 seasons, wasn't available. His production slowed down. And now he's had a back injury with severe, or major surgery done. So now we got to see, who is Sam Laporta? Can he stay on the field? Was he a 1-year wonder? What is Sam Laporta now? And so, yeah, I think that you just let Sam play out this year, and you either get a deal done with him during the season if he's playing well, so you get it done by the trade deadline, or unfortunately, you might have to walk away. But if you bring in a guy like Kyle Pitts, not only does that fix that problem, so if Sam is gone, Pitts is in, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. As much as I love Sam, I'm not attached to Sam. I want a player. I don't want a person. Does that make sense? I want a player. And that's the tough thing about being a fan and a GM. You can't do both. So I look at this as a GM, so y'all can hate me in the comments if you want. It's okay. I put it this way. When you talking contracts, my player comps are Trey McBride, Jake Ferguson, and Dalton Schultz. So even though they used Dalton Schultz and Jake Ferguson, I look at it differently as to the reason why I use them. One, I look at the 2 best seasons of Kyle Pitts when he was the most healthiest, and that is an average of about 1,020 yards a year and like 80 catches. That's elite production at the tight end position. If you look at what Travis Kelce did, 7 seasons of 1,000 or more yards every single year. During his prime of his career, he had 7 prime years. The last 4, I think he's been sub 900, sub 800 yards per season, hasn't been as healthy. So when I look at Kyle Pitts, I say, okay, I see who you are at your ceiling. You're 11, 1,200 yard receiver, right? You're a top 25 receiver. when you're healthy. As a tight end, if you're being used as a tight end in a crowded room, well, you're probably the tight end that's more like Dalton Schultz or Juwan Johnson or Jake Ferguson, where you're going to get that 6, 7, 800 yards. You'll get peppered 60, 70, 80 times a year, but you're not a blocker. You are a pass catcher. So you're not going to be out there blocking a whole lot. And then touchdown wise, yeah, you could be anywhere between 4 and 12 in a year. So let's just go with 7. You know, if you average 7 yards or 7 TDs, 800 yards a year, and you're getting 80 shots at it, 80 receptions, then I think that the money starts to make more sense, because it's not about the production that matters. Like if I'm bringing Pitts in, I'm not paying him for production as much as I'm paying him for what he does. And here's what he does. Here's the numbers. The floor is Juwan Johnson, 3 years, $30.75 million. It's about $10.25 a year. The average is Dalton Schultz, 3 years, 36, about 12 APY. The ceiling is Trey McBride, which he just signed a 4-year, $76 million deal, which is $19 million a year APY. Last year is when he signed that. Rock's lock, Kyle Pitts, 3 years, $55.5 million, 18.5 APY. The guarantee is $25 million. However, that number is only because the league has gone up 10% the last 2 years, roughly 9 to 10%. I see that his contract should be closer to a 3-year, $48.75 million deal with a 42% guarantee. He'll still be able to cash in again. He's only 25. He's going to be able to cash in again at age 28. So for me, if the Lions can bring him in at $18.5 million, I'm not mad. If they can bring him in at $16.25 million, I'm much happier. I think that what you have to look at overall is, what is he going to do for your team? And I think what he does is he unlocks a next level. Like, to think that this offense could get better. Again, if I'm J-Mo, if I'm Amon-Ra, if I'm Jahmyr Gibbs, if I'm Isaac Tisla, I don't care about my stats. I care about the Lombardi. At $18 million a year, $18.5 million a deal or a year, you're paying the ceiling, right? If he gets the 10.8 that Spot Track is offering, Brad Holmes better be running to wherever Kyle Pitts is with a contract in hand and a large signing bonus and say, sign now. You better run to that dude. If he gets $10 million a year and he's not in Detroit, that is a huge failure by Brad Holmes. I want insurance for Sam just like I want insurance for Kirby. Brock Wright is on his last year, and he's not a pass catcher. He's our blocker, so we got our blocker. Verdict is, if he's getting 10.8, you sign the steal of the century. If he's getting 18.5, you still sign the dude, and here's why. Sam Laporta remains the anchor of the tight end room. Yes, he's still recovering from major back surgery. I want insurance. Signing Pitts, he's a force multiplier that provides chaotic, variable, ability in this offense that elevates the unit to indefensible. Like, you would not be able to stop the Lions at all. 40 points a game, absolutely. 6'6", 245, like, why wouldn't you want that guy in your roster? I look at, expecting a heavier dose of 13 personnel, but I don't know that to be true. Exploiting coverage logic, I think that Pitts offers the vertical gravity that Calvin Johnson did. He's just in a far deadlier ecosystem than what Calvin Johnson was in. This ecosystem has Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Isaac Tisla, and Jameson Williams. And David Montgomery so far. This would be the fastest offensive team in the NFL. A 4.45 Pitts, a sub 4.4 or a 4.4 Isaac Tisla, a 4.3 J-Mo, a 4.3 Jahmyr Gibbs, and a 4.5 Amon-Ra St. Brown. Come on. There wouldn't be a faster team out there. But what does it do for the defenses? How can we use him? You got time for this quick play? It'll take me 2 minutes.
All right, I got to get going here real quick.
I know. Take me 2 minutes. Here it is. It's called the torch. You're going to go gun. This is the call, right? This is the call at the line. Gun bunch right, shift empty, torch, X dig on 1. Lions break the huddle. Defense sees 3 tight ends. They match with their base or their goal line defense, 4 linemen, 4 linebackers, 3 defensive backs. They are heavy, they are slow, and they're expecting the run between the tackles. Goff gets to the line. He calls the shift, blue 80. So now everyone's going out, right? Everyone's going out wide. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, he splits out wide left. Kyle Pitts, he shifts from tight end to wide right at the X spot. Jahmyr Gibbs, he motions out of the backfield to the slot. Brock Wright, Sam Laporta, they stay in line to block and protect for Jared Goff. The torch, the conflict, the mismatch. Now the defense is panicked. They don't know what to do. They're in a heavy run defense, but Detroit is in a 5-wide empty set. A smart defense burns a timeout. This defense didn't. Jameson Williams, the safety eraser, he runs a clear out post route because he's the fastest player on the field. The single deep safety or the free safety, they have to turn their hips to sprint with J-Mo, preventing the touchdown, right? The middle of the field is now wide open. Kyle Pitts, the checkmate. With the safety chasing J-Mo, Pitts is left one-on-one because the defense is in base. The player covering him is likely a strong side linebacker, the Sam linebacker. Pitts runs a seam route or a glance slant. The linebacker has no chance. There's no safety help because J-Mo took him deep. Goff hits Pitts for an explosive play. The counter, the second option, Jahmyr Gibbs. If the defense tries to cheat and puts a safety on Pitts, that leaves the middle linebacker on Jahmyr Gibbs, one-on-one in the slot. Gibbs runs an angle or a choice route, and the linebacker can't cover Gibbs in space. Either way, Pitts and J-Mo have taken their guys away. If the Lions are serious about a 2026 Super Bowl run, they have the financial flexibility by unlocking some of these contracts that they have by renegotiating them a little bit, you have to generate enough money to bring in a guy like Kyle Pitts. He is the alpha that turns Petzing's and Kafka's playbooks into a defensive coordinator's nightmare. That is my number one choice right now for tight ends on the tippy top tier of free agency. So with that, I'll give you your final 30 seconds. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I think in free agency, Kyle Pitts would be my number one. There are some other guys that I think would fit also in Detroit, likely, and a couple other guys. But we'll get to the other tight ends on other days. Free agency is going to be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, it's going to be, man. We got a lot of options. All right, we got to run. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, you guys take care. Go and probably go to Detroit Lions. Adios.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Okay, I lied. I'm back. The reason why is I just want to address a couple of things in the chat. Number one, there's a big difference with adding vertical velocity to your offense and you're trying to keep the main thing. If I were to do a poll right now, which I'm going to, I don't even know how many people are left, probably all dipped. Don't even forget, how many of you joined in the fun with Mr. Beast yesterday? Any of you guys win that Ferrari? Let me do a poll real quick. What is more important? Maintaining the offense to score 35 plus points or defense? What is more important right now? And the rest of that, since I can't type it all in, I'll explain. And this is why when you buy the magazine, if I get it done this year, it's going to be so important for you to read why, a lot of the stuff that I talk about here, it's not readily available for people just to kind of remember what I said, right? I have to keep talking about it. I have to keep bringing it up to help remind people of the things that I've said. And the reason why is because the conversations that we have, I feel are important, and that a lot of the stuff, it bears out, right? The information that I bring, a lot of it becomes factual, becomes our season, becomes things that Brad and Dan do or say. A lot of it does. I don't get everything right. I get a lot of stuff wrong, just like everybody else. But I have a pretty damn good pulse on this team. And I have for more than 3 years now doing this. But I've been watching this team for 40 plus years. 29th year will be this year for season tickets. So none of that matters because only the last 5 seasons matter. Only this team matters now, where we are today. The reason why I'm asking the question, what is more important, maintaining the offense or doing something with the defense? If you don't maintain your 35 plus points per game in the offense, how are you going to win games? Let's be realistic for a moment. And I better write this down so I can make sure that I get it right. And if I get time today, I'll try to turn it into a video. I owe you guys a lot of videos. They're coming. I'm working on this thing that I'm really trying to pull off, and I need some help. Let's look at offense versus defense. And just so you guys know, if I figure this out this week, which is the goal, these streams are going to start stopping and starting after an hour. So you're going to have to jump into different streams on different channels. Like I'll do a solid hour here, and then I'm going to go somewhere else. I got to break it up. If you look at offense versus defense, we have injury-wise and big injuries that we have to worry about. You have Brian Branch. Okay, and you have Kirby Joseph. Okay, Joseph is less than 10% odds to play this year. Brian Branch is more than 50% odds to start week 1. Okay. Who else? So we've got DJ Reed. He should be healthy. Terry and Arnold should be healthy. Ennis Rakestraw, you need a replacement there. So you need a second corner of the future. No matter what. You need 2 safeties. 1, you need backups that can play at a high level. 2, you got 1 safety coming back from an Achilles, so you got another one coming back from an injury that may not ever come back from. Who else on the defense is injured right now? Let's just see. What are we? Oh, we're gonna lose DJ Reader possibly because of money. Not so sure that AQM comes back because someone might pay him. And I'm not saying he's the answer. I would love to see him back, but not back with a bunch of money. I'd rather get younger, faster, sharper at that position, but not spending boatloads of money. But if you look on the offensive side of the football, which is the needle mover, right? The last 2 defenses, or last 2 Super Bowls, defenses have been a big reason as to why they were won. But the last 15, 16 Super Bowls now, that's only happened twice. Maybe 3 times. They're offensive Super Bowls now. The entire NFL is offense. That's what it's all about. They want points scored. That's what sells tickets and jerseys and everything else is scoring points. It's always been that way, but the NFL's geared that way now. So on the offensive side of the ball, here's what we're going up against. You have a left tackle who's done, okay? Age, retirement, injury. He's done by 2027. So after the season, he's no matter what he's done. He's probably done this year, but I'm putting a cap on it 2027. You have a center. We don't have. Maybe. We have some ideas. McLaughlin. Glasgow still under contract. Not the answer. McLaughlin, we don't know. Who else is injured on the offense? I don't think we have any major injuries on the offense that I can think of. Monroe's good. Tesla's good. Gibbs is good. Monty's good. Everyone's good on the offensive side of the ball. Shane Zielstra, Brock Wright coming back from injury, and Sam Laporta. So Zielstra, I don't expect him to be back. I don't know why I would bring him back. Gone. Brock Wright coming back from injury, last year of contract. Okay, so you need to think about the future. Laporta, back injury. He is greater than 50% to play week 1. So when I look at what the team needs and what is the most important thing here, it is to score points. Why? How likely is it that you're going to be able to replace Branch and Joseph without spending a boatload of money? Highly unlikely. How likely is it that you're immediately going to find your third corner that can play at a high level in the draft or free agency that isn't on the team yet, right? In draft or free agency, and not get injured? Highly unlikely. Corners get injured all the time. How likely is it that the Lions are going to be able to replace DJ Reader, Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Paschal, and I know those last two players are coming back, but they may not make the squad. How are we going to replace all that depth? Pat O'Connor, Wheat, Lacey. My God, there's several guys there that depth from 2024 is kind of moving on. So you have a lot of players that you have to replace, right? So I get it that defense is very important. But when I look at an offense, when Sam Laporta was out of the lineup, what happened to this offense? When you really needed a chain mover, when you really needed a blocking tight end, when you needed a tight end period that could get open and help you win a couple of times a game, even, we didn't have it. And if you look at the games that we could have won, had we had a tight end, we could have won. Does that make sense? We could have won. Had we had a tight end, we could have won. Just by making a couple of plays. And right now, we don't have any tight ends. Zielstra's gone, injured. Wright's injured, working his way back. Laporta's injured, working his way back. We have 0 tight ends right now. And out of those 3, well, you need to replace at least one. And if you look at what happens here, and I kind of skipped through this. That's why these are so important to read all the way through. I kind of skipped through a little bit about what this means by having a tight end like this that is way better than Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta is good. He's not this elite. This is like having another top 25 receiver on your roster. Another JMO. Like JMO's in the top 25 for yards and everything last year. And this guy's just a little bit slower than JMO. But he's massive. He's a red zone weapon. You put him anywhere on the field, the dude makes plays. He's not a great blocker. Don't need him for that. And in 13 personnel, you're not asking all 3 just to block like crazy. In run support, yes. He can hold his own. But if you have a guy like this that can get upfield in a hurry, that forces defenses to respect him when he's on the field, when they come in with heavy personnel, do you think that if you come in with 13 personnel with Sam Laporta, that they're as worried that they can't cover Sam Laporta? I would say the answer is no. They're not as worried. So that changes with a guy like Pitts on the field. Because remember, in 13 personnel, you have 3 tight ends, 1 receiver, 1 running back. Well, whoever that receiver is, they can easily take that away. Corner and a safety over top. But the tight ends, you have to match up with bigger bodies because you're blocking. And if you're trying to play smash mouth football and they think you're going to be running the football, and that's what you do during the beginning of the game, maybe the first half, and then all of a sudden the second half, there goes Pitts downfield. They're not expecting it, but they're expecting it. You hit him at the right time. You go for big yardage, big gains, touchdowns, whatever. But unlocking this guy or adding this guy to this offense would completely unlock a different parallel. Jared Goff is historically one of the most efficient quarterbacks in man defense, right? Man coverage requires defenders to turn their backs to quarterbacks and chase receivers. When that happens, this is when defenders turn their backs and run downfield. I guess what I was trying to say. This is when their likelihood of getting picked off in traffic or losing the foot race happens most. And this is why Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best receivers against man defense, because he will find those softer zones, those open voids, and sit down and take the pass from Goff, right? Pitts, on the other hand, elevates that to a whole new level. Because now if Amon-Ra St. Brown is that receiver in 13 personnel and Pitts is one of the tight ends, well, now you have legit 2 guys that can stretch the field, and both can beat man-on-man anyone. In zone, it also requires defenders to pass the players off. It requires discipline and vision. But this is where Goff is even more lethal against zone, catching the check down, the screen, whether that's Gibbs catching the catch down or the screen, weaving through the secondary, or flooding the zones and using play action to suck those linebackers up. And then you hit Laporta or Pitts in those softer zones and voids to completely destroy them. They'll destroy those soft zones and those voids for big gains. Without Pitts, that doesn't happen. With Sam Laporta 100% healthy, that happens at a higher rate. But with Pitts, it happens on every play. An example of why that would be so terrifying is that torch play that I drew up. And if I could show it to you, I would. I don't know where my drawing thing went to do it on screen. But when you think about having all of these guys in tight in 13 personnel, 3 tight ends, they match with base or goal line, 4 linemen, 4 linebackers, 3 defensive backs. They're heavy and they're slow. And now you've got a 4-4 guy in there as tight end. And let's say you put J-Mo out there instead. And he's sub 4-3. And then you got Gibbs, who's sub 4-3. And now all of a sudden you empty the set and you go 5, you go 3 wide. There's not a defense that can hang with that. But if that's Sam Laporta in that place, they can hang with that. And if you use the other 2 guys, Gibbs and J-Mo, as decoys, Pitts is going right down the field for a touchdown. Every time. Not every time, but you get the idea. So back to where I was going with this. The statement was and until I said more than 50%. I didn't say he was starting. I said more than 50% to play on week 1. Where was it? We don't need 2 top tight ends to run 13 personnel. No, we don't need 2 top. I don't know who said that. We don't need anything. You don't. You don't need a damn thing. What you need in 13 personnel is a pass catching tight end and 2 blocking tight ends. That's what you need. But right now, I think I just went over it. Zielstra is not good at either. He sucks at blocking and he's not good at pass catching. So why keep him around? He's gone. Ferksker was no better, right? And he's old. Brock Wright is a good blocker, catches a pass every once in a while. So he's your blocker. Sam Laporta just had major back injury, back surgery. He's 50-50 when he's going to play. He should be back, should be ready to roll. But all it takes is what? Landing one way, the wrong way, getting hit a certain way, and he's out again. Once you have a back injury, well, I should know, every day is a crapshoot. Sleep wrong, fall asleep the wrong way, anything. Anything can screw you because nerves, can't do anything about them. You really can't. So, yeah, you absolutely need another tight end that can catch the ball. And if you're looking at really amplifying what you're doing, if you go take a look at the free agents that are available, there's only a handful that can do what Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride can do. And you absolutely need one of those types of tight ends to run the Petsing scheme, not just 13 personnel. And if you have 2 tight ends like Sam Laporta can block and can pass catch, he's not great at blocking, but he's better than most, then you're winning. But to say that the Lions don't need to waste any opportunity there would be foolish. To say that, well, they shouldn't spend $18.5 million, they should spend that on Crosby. Well, that's another $12 million just for 1 year. And it's not anywhere close. I know some people were trying to, compare contracts out there, but they didn't know what they were doing. You have to look at the full contract. You have to look at the guaranteed money. It's 121.8% difference between Aleem McNeil and Max Crosby from year to year. It's more than 46% difference in just cap hits. It's huge. That's big money. $7-8 million a year is 6 players on league minimum. It's big money. You kind of need that money to fill out a roster. I'd rather take that 7 or 8 million and get 2 or 3 tier 2 guys, right? Than 6 UDFAs. But I'd rather get 2 or 3, tier 2 guys that can play at a high level, as opposed to one guy that, again, Crosby said he's not going anywhere. He just said it this weekend, live on national TV. He's staying in Vegas. Now, it could be a lie, right? Just like Montgomery said he wants to be back, wants to play, or he actually didn't say that. He said that, we will see what Petsing will do for our offense. He kept using it, and saying it in the first person, acting like he's on the team. Well, he is on the team. He's signed. He's not going to come out and tell you he's leaving. That's not his style. That's not his style at all. They're always going to give you the PC answer. You can't take everything at face value. Jay Glazer did not say that, Attila. Did you not? Or are you just being facetious? Jay Glazer never said he was coming to Detroit. So anyway, the point here is when we talk about free agency, we're going to talk about every position. When I look at elevating a roster to win a lot of football games, there's only a certain few players that are going to be able to do that. And I don't know how you feel, but I know how I feel. What was the poll? The poll was, what's more important, maintaining the offense to score 35 points or defense? Only 18 votes. It said 61 defense. Okay. We definitely have to maintain defense. But if you don't maintain your offensive identity, here, let me just go back and look at the Lions. I could do this all day. If I can go back and look at the Lions schedule from 2025 and look at how many points they scored in the last several weeks of the season. Let's take a look. They scored 19 against the Bears. They scored 10 against the Vikings. They scored 24 against the Steelers. 34 against the Rams. That was a good game. And 44 against the Cowboys. That was a good game. 24 against the Packers. 34 against the Giants. 9 against the Eagles. What week did Sam Laporta, what week was he injured? So week 10? The Commanders game? I think it was. So after the Commanders game, starting off in week 11, we scored 9 points. The week before, when he was in the game, we scored 44. It was one of his biggest games of the year. The following week against the Giants, good defensive front, not a great defense overall in the back end. We were able to take care of them, right? Their secondary was not good. Against the Packers, good front, good secondary. We only put up 24. Cowboys, same kind of thing. Not a good team. Terrible defense. The Rams, good front, good secondary. We put up 34. But we've also played the Rams like 4 times in the last 2 years. So we kind of get what they're doing. The Steelers, a team that we should have smoked. Had we had Sam Laporta in that game, probably could have. Against the Vikings, only putting up 10 points against a team that has really good linebackers. That is exactly where Sam is needed. Same thing against the Bears. Even though we beat them, that should have been a bloodbath. When Sam's in the game, the Lions score more points. They average more yards per play. And so if he's coming back from a back injury, in Wright and Zylstra, I mean, Wright is who he is. He's not going to push the needle. He's going to help you block, so he's going to help the running backs. But now you're talking about this ecosystem where now you legit have 5 guys on the field at one time that you have to play man defense on. Or, better yet, you play a zone and we pick you apart. But you can't leave anyone to double team. You really can't. And when you start to add that element to your game, where nobody can really double team you, someone's always going to be open. The only thing is, Jared Goff has to see it and he has to get the ball there. And that means reading the defense pre-snap is extremely important. Defense doesn't win championships always. They've won the last 2, by the way. Do you need the stats? CJ, whatever your name is. I can give them to you. Last two Super Bowls have been great with defense, but you know what about the defense in this year's Super Bowl? It wasn't as much the defensive line as it was the secondary. That secondary on both sides was great, but the Seattle Seahawks was by far just big time. Every play, big time. Anyway, the next free agents that I'll get into, which aren't going to be right now, I just wanted to come in and kind of clear that up. That remember, when you look at making your team better, there's 2 ways to do it. In free agency, Brad is going to go after need. In the draft, he's going to go after BPA, and he's trying to make this team better. And again, what I said earlier today, if you look around the roster and you just look at the field when, you know, the offense or defense is on the field, you look around and look at how many different elite players there are, or quasi-elite players that Brad has put on this team. He has not just gone heavy on one position, because if you do that, then you can't continue to make the entire team better. You're making one position better. It's easy to isolate one position. It's very difficult to isolate 7. For instance, Aiden Hutchinson, tier 1B, not 1A. Aleem McNeil, tier 1B. DJ Reader, tier 2. But he's a tier 1 as a nose tackle. Al-Qadim Muhammad's tier 2. But it's better to have a tier 2 than a tier 4, right? Or tier 3. A lot of tier 4s out there. Alex Anzalone, tier 2. Jack Campbell, tier 1. Derek Barnes, tier 2. Rock Ya-Sin, tier 2. Avante Maddox, tier 2. Thomas Harper, tier 2. DJ Reed, tier 1. Amik Robertson as a nickel, tier 2, 2A. Overall, you've got a defense that is probably operating as a 1B, 2A hybrid, if you will. Anywhere you look on the field, you've got a playmaker that can make plays. And then when you look at the backups, when they come in, it gets even better because you're not getting a ton of drop off. Tyleek Williams, he's a tier 2 right now as a young guy. He'll be a tier 1 soon. Roy Lopez is a tier 2, played like a tier 1 in some games. Who else can I throw in here? Terrion Arnold, he's a tier 2 right now as a young player. He'll be a tier 1. Brian Branch, tier 1. Kirby Joseph, when he was on the field, tier 1. So your backups and your starters on this defense, the Lions have more tier 1 and 2 guys from first and second level than most other teams. If I run down the second stringers, if you will, Tyrus Wheat, yeah, he's a tier 2 guy. He's not a tier 3. He's probably a 2B, not a 2A, meaning he's a good player. He's still developing, but man, some games he played extremely well. Malcolm Rodriguez is a 2B player. He's a great backup, so he's not a third, not another 3, tier 3. Grant Stewart, and he's just a high motor effort player. I give him 2B. Nick Whiteside, I give him tier 3. Daniel Thomas, I'd probably give him a 2B. Jalen Mills, don't have enough tape on that guy. Probably give him tier 3. Dorsey, tier 3. Arthur Mollett, I give him 2B. Josh Pascal is a 2A. Mekhi Wingo, I give him 3A for right now. Tyler Lacey, I give him 2B. Trevor Nowaski, I give him a 2B. Ezekiel Turner, I give him a tier 3. Lauren Strickland, tier 3. Ennis Rakestraw hasn't done squat, so tier 3. Levi Onwuzurike was tier 2A. Ahmed Hassanin hasn't done anything, but I'll give him a tier 3. And Dan Jackson, we don't know yet. So I see a lot of 2s, not a whole lot of 1s, right? And very few 3s. That's how you want your roster to be. If you look at the Seattle Seahawks, it's the same way. They have a lot of tier 2s and a couple of tier 1s. You want a good mixture like that on defense, because if you have, let's say you go heavy at defensive end, you can't afford to bring in those tier 2 guys. If you go heavy at defensive end and let's say one corner and one linebacker, and you've only got 4 guys that are in the top tier level, and your secondary's trash, doesn't matter how good they are up front. They're just going to plink you to death over top. The pass was coming out in 2.83 seconds for both teams this weekend, or yesterday. in the majority of sacks were happening well after 3 seconds. So if that tells you anything, it should. Anyway, now I'm going to run. I said we needed Nick. I'm on a worry from day one, man. I wish we would have had it. But then again, you have to look at the draft, man, and what really happened. It just sucks we didn't get him. He's a good player. He's a really good player. He might have been on every single one of my mocks, the Lions. And if not, he was right there where the Lions could have picked him. So, it is what it is. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Now I'm going to leave for sure. Adios.
Pressured by